was cancelled. It was cancelled.
You were cancelled?
Cancelled.
Did not happen.
I thought I was going to have a coup.
Didn't happen. Hey everyone! I think we're live on the interwebs, on the internet. We're live. Yes, we are. How's everyone doing? It's good to be back. Friday night. What are you listening to? Good to see you. Who's watching? Let's make yourselves known if you're watching. Let's do the housekeeping first. I forgot how to do it last week. I was like, where's the button? Where's the like and subscribe button? I don't know what happened there, but I've remembered how to do it. Here we go. Just do this. There we go. Hey, like and subscribe. It's not that difficult, but for some reason last week I was not able to do it. Like and subscribe. You know what? It helps. I actually looked into the old the data the other day, and yeah, like and subscribe. That's what I'm going to say about that. Okay, let's go in the chat. It's blue. Hello, Tony. Hey, Tony. Absolutely no product placement here tonight. We don't encourage product placement. If any other labels out there are watching and thinking, hey, I might send him something to, put in the background or wear, don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. Do not send me your records and merchandise.
Seats taken.
It's not wanted.
If anybody from Wild Turkey is watching this tonight, I will definitely take bribes.
All right. It's going to be a great show tonight. We've decided we're going to try our hand at a themed episode. What about that? How exciting. All right. But it's a real simple concept. It's going to be a lot of fun. What's the concept, everybody? Jordan, Scoots, what's the concept? Decades. The decades, right? 60s, we'll have a 60s round, a 70s round, an 80s round, a 90s round, and a 2002 today round. So everyone's got one record each from each of those decades. And I'm kind of actually really intrigued this week to see what everyone picked out because of this theme that we've got going. I don't know about you guys, but when we first started talking about this, I was like, oh my God, I've got to pick a record that absolutely represents, this decade. And then I was like, nah, I'm not. That's way too difficult. So, keep it simple.
You have to pick the voice of a generation, but not voice of a generation every time.
Because this, that's almost like an impossible task to pick a record that, completely represents each decade that we're going to talk about.
I thought it was going to make it a little easier because it at least gave us a kind of a framework to narrow it down from just anything. And it really didn't make it any easier.
No.
I just looked up Pitchfork's best records of the 60s, 70s, 80s. Don't worry.
There must be one band that has a record from every one of these decades, though, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I was thinking of doing Dio. Dio must have a 60s record, right? Either with Elf or his earlier band.
Beach Boys could have been done.
Yeah.
Even though the 80s and 90s picks would be grim.
Yes. Shall we get going?
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's introduce the panel. Everyone knows it's veteran panel tonight. Jordan, Scoots, Bill Molloy. We're all here. We're going to have a great time. Let's get going. Cheers, everyone. What's everyone drinking tonight? I'm on my favorite Japanese Ginga Kogen. Oh, Sam Adams.
Old Malbach? I don't know.
Oh,
I threw away my can because it exploded.
Exploded in your face.
German
style lager.
There you go.
That's a mango iced tea.
All right, let's get going. 60s. Let's go back. Anyone here born in the 60s? I was. 67. I was born. I definitely don't remember listening to this record when I was two years old. I don't think we had a copy in the house. My dad was more into sort of soul and R&B, which actually, in retrospect, pretty cool. But yeah, definitely this band was not present in our house in 1969, which was the year it came out. This record came out in 1969. Well, let me just say, actually, before I get into this, some of the records that I immediately thought about, the bands, have better records in the 70s than in the 60s. And totally, this does apply to my pick for the 60s, but it's still a great record from the 60s. So let's get going. So this band actually influenced one of my favorite punk bands of all time. In fact, their first LP was kind of a homage to the title of this record. And then they covered them a little bit. They kind of stole song titles and this, that, and the other. The punk band I'm talking about is the Apostles, and their first LP was Punk Obituary. This band's second LP, was called
Blues Obituary.
Blues Obituary. It's like burying the blues. There you go. 3 white guys like burying the blues. The traditional blues is dead. From here on out, the rule book is thrown out the window. We're going to do whatever we want with the blues. And they did do whatever they wanted with the blues. And the results were quite astonishing, I want to say. When you think of the like British blues boom of the 60s, I mean, I like quite a lot of it. I love John Mayall. I love John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, all those records. Love the Yardbirds. Love Cream, a little bit heavier. The Groundhogs do not sound like any other of these kind of bands from the. There's something very foreboding and dark and menacing in the in the Groundhogs. Tony McPhee's like singing style, it's kind of hard to describe. It's like almost singing, kind of talking. He's not a great singer, but it just completely works with the music. It's super like dark, menacing, foreboding element to their music. And then there's this like his guitar playing. He's like just the tones that he gets from his guitar. It's just incredible, especially like the clean guitar tones that he has are just like, beautiful. I can't think of anybody else that was doing like these kind of guitar tones back then, like he was. It's kind of ahead of the curve. But yeah, so track 2 is called Days of the Week, which the Apostles also stole as a song title, but it's a completely different song. But Days of the Week is a great name for a song. But man, this kind of stuff is complicated, but it's also like kind of thuggish. It's like got this like hard-nosed like thuggishness to it that almost kind of predates like Raw Records and like that first wave of like UK punk.
Yeah,
like, it's got this real sort of proto pub rock East End of London sort of crushed butler kind of hard-nosed blue collar feel to it, but at the same time it's also kind of proggy and complicated, and I think they're amazing. There's like touches of Beefheart in here, like a little bit, but it's nowhere near as zany or wacky as Beefheart. A little bit of Edgar Broughton, maybe. Edgar Broughton was kind of doing similar kinds of things. The Edgar Broughton Band, another great band from the 60s, but yeah.
Pink Fairies.
Nice. Pink Fairies, the Deviants. There's a few of these kind of. We might call them like UK like proto punk if you like, but yeah, nothing really comes close to like what the Groundhogs were doing. But of course, this is sort of like they were just getting started right with this record. I mean, Split and Thank Christ for the Bomb are absolute 10 out of 10 classics. This is like an 8 or 9 out of 10, I want to say, but definitely it's pushing in the direction they were going to go in the 70s. And great band, great record. Any fans? You guys into the Groundhogs at all?
Definitely. When we were chatting earlier this week, Mike, and you said your 60s pick, their work in the 70s was better, I just had this premonition that was the record you were going to pick.
Oh, really? Okay.
And it actually made me change up my picks because my 70s pick was going to be Thank Christ for the Bomb.
Wow. There you go.
Wow. I swapped it out because I didn't want to do all Groundhogs episode.
Someone asked, like, is this produced by Martin Birch?
Martin Birch.
I don't think it doesn't say so.
I think so.
On the back. It doesn't say so in the credits on the back. But...
Oh, that one might not be. I'm not sure, but I'm almost positive the later stuff is.
Yeah, I think so.
Split so. And Thank Christ for the Bomb.
Right. This is actually a really raw, like 4-track recording, which again doesn't hurt. So much tension too in this band. They really know how to build like tension in a song, and like they'll be having these kind of quiet moments, and you can tell when a like Tony McPhee guitar solo is coming in because like the black clouds roll in and there's a key change and it's like boom, and then he just kind of goes off on this fucking wild like solo, and also not that bluesy actually. I want to say even now he's kind of moving away from like blues based guitar solos into like new like territory.
Oh, he didn't want to speak ill of the dead.
exactly.
They had very legitimate, real blues chops though. Like when I was doing the background, data scrub looking for info on that. They played with John Lee Hooker in London in '64 on like an LP that I play all the time. They're not credited on the jacket, but it's in like every write-up you can read on it. It's a great record, and it's completely straight blues. Like there's no sense of like the guitar flourishes that McPhee's going to bring later, or any kind of weird effects or anything. It is pure straight blues.
Absolutely. They were his backing band, right, in the UK and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I think Tony McPhee did a record with Big Joe Williams too, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, legit guys. But it's like so different to like fucking Clapton and Beck, this band is like so different. That's my 60s. This record completely encapsulates. You know what? This is like not a flower power like Love and Peace kind of a record either. It's not one of those. It's not happy-go-lucky, Camden Town, kind of record. It's like a dark, fucking heavy, foreboding record. So.
It's killing me. I can't remember. There's definitely some band that I want to say covered at least one or two Groundhog songs, and that's how I know the name. But was it The Fall? Maybe?
I don't know. I know the Apostle again covered them again like later on their later records, but yeah. It wouldn't surprise me.
Do you like their later stuff? Like after that initial lineup of those first three guys that play on that and Split and Thank Christ, and then I guess they broke up, and then it was really only Tony McPhee and like some other guys. But like the later 70s stuff, like Black Diamond, I listen to that all the time. It's really
Black
cool.
Diamond is absolutely amazing. It's like he's experimenting with all these like synthesizers and stuff.
Yeah,
and
some of those effects, like when he hits those solos, they just like blow you out of the room. They're so cool.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We could have had a 60s, 70s, and 80s Groundhogs.
We've done an old Groundhogs episode, probably.
Every day feels the same with Groundhogs.
All right, I've taken up 12 minutes of your time talking about the Groundhogs. Jordan, what's your 60s pick?
Okay, well, so I'm not going to go into the entire history of American rock and roll, and I'm just, people write books about it, and I'm not the person that's going to write that book. However, this band that I'm picking for the 60s definitely influenced a lot of what I think the early punk bands or people that became the emphasis for early punk bands. Basically, 1962, 1963, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones had singles come out. They came over to the United States, and then pretty much every college town in America had their own little party band, basically, who was covering, these classic doo-wop songs and also these early rock and roll songs that were written by Richard Berry, Chuck Berry, and Little Richard. And this band started in 1960, but it took them until 1964 to release a 2-song EP. One was a cover on the B-side, and there was an original on the A-side. And it got so popular in the area in the Northwest, Pacific Northwest, where they were from, that they ended up getting enough money, this party band, to be able to record a full-length album. Except for they didn't have that much money because they recorded on a 2-track with a microphone hung from the ceiling over the drum kit. And that's how they recorded this record. And this record is absolutely a game changer for what was to come. I'm talking about the Sonics.
Yep.
Here we
So
are.
you mentioned the microphone hanging from the ceiling.
Microphone hanging from the ceiling over the drum kit. Which is one of the reasons why I talk about this being a bit of a proto-punk record in a way. Not only is the garage rock sound perfectly emphasized here, but because the recording and their second LP, Boom, also had this quality, it's completely distorted and everything in the recording is blown out. So you'll have a saxophone solo. It doesn't even sound like a saxophone, for example. It sounds completely blown out. The drums are way high in the mix because of the way the microphone is hung over it. And the drummer drums like a fucking beast on here. So it gives that kind of like, early kind of punk garage sound instead of just being, a typical covers band. Also, all the covers, which the majority of the record is covers, You got Roll Over Beethoven, Do You Love Me, which I like way better than the Beatles version. Have Love Will Travel, which is a famous cover that they do on this. Money. So they have a lot of covers on the songs, but every single one of them is sped up. There's not a song over that equals 3 minutes on this entire record. They have a song that Money is 1:58, and their longest song on the record is 2:56. So it's fast, and it just comes at you with this just howling kind of R&B style vocalist that his voice is cracking and he's shouting, and it's just amazing what he's able to do on it. And there's a specific songs that were actually written by the band that also made it on this record. So they have 4 or 5 originals, which in my opinion are the best songs on the record. The song which was their first EP, fucking classic. Boss Hog, Psycho, which is fucking great.
Yeah.
Fucking great song. And then my favorite song, which is I think one of the first kind of punk rock songs ever written, Strychnine.
Yes.
I mean, it's such a punk song. I mean, it's nihilistic. It's talking about doing drugs. It's like I just want to like basically kill myself. And it's just fucking hook after hook after hook on it. Anyway, 1965, here are the Sonics. Originally released on Etiquette Records. My version is from 1920 on Ace Records, so it's a reissue.
Yeah. Man, I remember like we heard those few songs like Psycho, The Witch for the first time like early 90s. I was like, damn, this is kind of wild. Like for the 60s, like we were very much taken by surprise. And
for 1965, for how you could totally hear the MC5, the Stooges, the Cramps. I mean, just so much bands that were just like this had to be in their palette. I mean, those bands also said that that band was in their palette. So
the first time I heard Strychnine was a Cramps live show. They covered it like in the early 90s, and from there going to like the Mummies, who play a lot of those same songs, like that just led me to investigate further into the past and finally straight to the source.
Yeah.
And the Wailers is another great one from that scene.
Yes.
Yeah, they're from Tacoma, Washington, which to think that the two kind of bands that are playing this kind of style of kind of blown out rock and roll covers kind of style, them and the Kingsmen, were both like right next door to each other. It's kind of amazing. But, it's that college rock, just, what a band.
Wild stuff. I forgot to say this. Everyone watching, if you have like, your 60s pick, what would you pick? Let us know in the comments. See what your like pick for the 60s would be. We'll put it in the comments. There you go. All right.
I saw them twice about 10 years ago after they got back together, and it was most of the older guys, but it was like maybe half newer people, but they were still kind of the same age range. Like they had Dusty Watson playing drums with them on the 2 tours that I saw. They still killed it. They were both. It was great.
I love the drumming on this. It's phenomenal to how they drum.
Yeah, and like it was killer shows both times.
Beautiful.
Great pick.
All right. Groundhogs. Sonics. What's next?
So maybe this is a bit of a stretch as a segue. I mean, you guys both kind of mentioned the kind of proto-punk aspects of your picks. Maybe not in a very direct, obvious sonic way, but at least in spirit and maybe the DIY kind of ethic involved. So I think my pick will kind of go along with that a little bit. This is Silver Apples. If you don't know, Silver Apples were a 2-piece early electronic band. Basically a synthesizer and a drummer. The synthesizer was like a homemade, set of oscillators that the one member built himself. You can check out like the Wikipedia entry on it. It's like really pretty wild to think about. Like he wasn't trained to play like the piano or a more traditional synthesizer. So it's very unusual sounding. It's not like a lot of other electronic acts you might have heard. I mean, also obviously very early. This is 69. So this is their second album. You might also have seen the first one. It's got that kind of mirror silver background with just a silhouette of the two apples in black. Really cool, striking cover.
I'm just got rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a recent reissue.
Okay.
So I'm sure these are both still around probably. So like I said, it's just a two-piece. So the sound is very kind of sparse and cold. It doesn't fill a room. It sounds like almost as mechanical as the method of production. Like these guys could have been at opposite ends of a warehouse, never laying eyes on each other. It's not fun. You never will put this on at a party unless you want to clear the room out at the end of the night. It's really interesting though. Like, I mean, I enjoy it. It's a lot of bleeps and bloops. And really the synthesizer is the star. A lot of the songs are like multiple layers of, rhythm and bass lines all being played through the synth. And the drumming is like very kind of rudimentary. It's basically just a framework to lay those synth parts over. Can kind of take on like a kind of hypnotic, almost krautrock-esque kind of feel at times. Other times it almost seems like they're being intentionally off-putting or kind of confrontational. And just when you think like, wow, are they trying to be off-putting and confrontational? In comes the banjo. Yes. an electronic synth record that has at least a couple of tracks with banjo on it, which I mean, personally, I love the banjo. It's an interesting choice for your third instrument. But I think it works. It's a cool record. It's interesting. Like I said, it's not going to, it's not something to like unwind with at the end of like a bad day. But if you're into like something a little more challenging, you can definitely hear, like this was like very clearly like a spiritual ancestor to Suicide.
That's what I was thinking. I was going to ask. I wonder if Suicide was influenced by them.
That
sure. Sounds similar.
I'm 100% sure. I mean, it's like I said, that coldness, that sparseness, like the minimalism of it. Like ain't no guitars, and it's like the songs, they're really like dark sounding. Like the vocals are not so much sung as almost just like recited, like very like deadpan, dry. Like there's like no emotion. It almost seems like you read like a mathematical program on how to write a song, and it's like, we need this part, this part, this part, this part. And it's like you just went through a list without any like sense of soul to it. Kind of interesting trivia note, like kind of hard to see it here, but they're actually behind the cockpit of a jet plane with the Pan Am logo on here. And apparently they got permission to do this if they showed the Pan Am logo on the record cover. But then on the back, which is really hard to see, there's a picture of a plane crash with the band in front of it. So they got sued by Pan Am.
I'm sure they love that.
Yeah. So the band got sued by Pan Am after the fact. That ended up scuttling their third LP. And one note said that it actually folded the label. This was on Kapp Records, Kapp. I think was like a subsidiary of MCA. So I'm not sure if they actually folded or if that was just like kind of legalese thing. But I thought it was like an interesting bit of trivia.
That's wild.
Any of you guys heard them before?
I used to have the first album. I've not heard that one, to be honest with you. But
they're very similar sound. I mean, if you've heard one, like I do have them both. They're very similar. I like this one a little bit more, I think maybe because I heard it first. This one song on here, A Pox on You, is just like, I mean, think about that. It's like the guy is like basically like reciting a curse. I don't know. It's very dark and weird sounding, especially for the time period where there's like almost nothing else like this. Yeah, pretty cool.
Where are they from?
New York.
Okay.
And so like I said, they had two. Yeah, they had like the two 60s records. 68 was the first one, this one. And then I guess they reformed like in the 90s, like when probably through the internet, like the world kind of became aware of them. And they started like playing shows again. I think basically the main guy with like a pickup drummer, but like he was playing shows up until like the 2016, I think. And like I've heard a little bit of that stuff. It's a lot more experimental sounding than this, which is like calling this rock is maybe a bit of a stretch. Like it's got like a drum beat behind it. But the newer stuff I've heard, which has not been exhausted, but it's been a lot more experimental. Yeah, this, I mean, definitely a cool footnote in music history if you're into like electronic stuff at all. If you're a Suicide fan, whatever, check it out. It's cool.
Nice. Yeah, there was some YouTube video, some like 5 bands that screwed their own career or something like that, that had that story about the album cover and the back cover.
Oh, no kidding.
And they played a sample of it and I'm like, oh shit, that sounds awesome. Let me check this out and get more into it. And I completely forgot about it until you brought that cover out. So now I'm going to stick in my head. I'm going to remember it this time.
Yeah.
Music-wise, they would probably be like an ideal mixtape band. Like you want to put like 1 or 2 songs like in a mix of other stuff. Maybe not sit down and listen to the whole thing back to back. That's kind of sounds like I'm dissing it. I like this record a lot.
No, it makes sense. Real question is, would
it's like a challenge, I guess.
On the mixtape? That's the real question.
That's a good one too. Yeah,
that's a great choice.
Scott's pick is MC5 Count Jams 69. There you go.
Classic.
I hope that's not your pick, Bill. Maybe it is.
No, I was thinking about that, but I was worried that one of you guys would do that. So, yeah, my pick. Oh, no.
What is your pick? What is your
pick? So another London thing from Mike. They were around when you were alive.
Yes.
Still alive.
You were alive.
I was alive. As opposed to
later in the decade. So they were kind of a freak beat band. They did 1 LP, but it was kind of one of those just tossed together, like this is coming out in West Germany and it's just our singles. So they never really did a real LP, but in 2017, Numero Group did a collection that purports to be everything that they recorded. So it's The Creation, Action Painting. So it's a double LP, and it does the Numero Group thing of being amazing with the packaging and everything, and being very annoying that it doesn't have the track listing on the back. I noticed that's a trend with them. But yeah, so it's Action Painting from The Creation. So it's all the singles. The LP and the digital and the CD version are different. The double LP is a little bit more condensed, but that just means it doesn't have as many of the double LP doesn't have the useless Bob Dylan cover that the digital does. So works for me. So it's got all the big hits. It's got Making Time. That's the first track on this. If you're going to know one Creation song, it's probably that. It was in Rushmore. I think there was a car commercial that used it. I first remember hearing about it because the Circle Jerks covered it on the Gig live album. And then maybe 5 years ago, Civic did a single like before their first album and they covered it. And then wait, why do I remember this song? Brought me into it. And it's like, oh shit, that's right. It's this. So I was looking around. This came out in 2017. I think it's out of print now. I was looking on their website to see if you could find it. But yeah, Numero doesn't have any more copies, but it's not super hard to find. I've got the red and black one. But yeah, no, it kind of spans a couple different sounds on here. Like there's the big hits like Making Time and Painter Man and How Does It Feel to Feel. So it's got those.
Is that the one that Boney M covered?
I don't know Boney M. I know the name, but I don't know off the top of my head. But it probably is Painter Man, Painter Man, Painter.
Yes, that one.
That's why I shout when I sing, so I can't. Melody's not my friend. But there's a lot of different kind of sounding bits on this. Like they've got the big garage rock freak beat sound on a lot of it. And on the cover, you can see he's doing the thing with the violin bow on the guitar. He was apparently the first one to do it, so Jimmy Page stole it from him.
Yes.
So among the many things that Jimmy Page stole,
add that to the list.
Yeah, add it to the list. There's a couple of tracks on here where, like, if you were to put them on a mixtape or just like have your stuff shuffling, you'd be like, "Is this a Zombies outtake? Like, is this from Odyssey and Oracle?" What's it called? For All That I Am or Nightmares. Those are two of the ones like that. They just have this real Baroque sounding, like light psychedelic bit. But then you also have stuff that's like super heavy for 1967, 1968. Like, how does it feel? Starts with this massive drum fill where it's like, the drums just sound fucking fantastic. Like it gives me kind of the same feeling as like just not quite to the same level as New Rose, you know, that like kind of intro drum bit, but it hits and you're just like, fuck yeah, it's this song. So it made sense that like later on Ride covered that song.
Right.
Yeah, there's other like midway down. There's this other song called Tom Tom that also has just got this like faster beat. Again, I think it's the same session as How Does It Feel to Felix. It's got this huge sounding production on it with these massive drums and then this like super distorted guitar solo. Like it'll just kind of go and then just like 3 little licks in there. It rules. Like it's got that kind of, you can tell it's a compilation of singles because there's a million different sounds on it, but they were good at all of them. And then if you read through the booklet, like they never really had a stable lineup. Like it's also got the Numero like classic massive booklet full of, you know, huge notes. Like if you can find it, it's definitely worth it. And even like at the end, Ronnie Wood from the Rolling Stones and the Faces was in the final lineup. So it was just this weird kind of thoroughfare of it. Like it's great. Like I'm very happy that Civic covered that song. It's like, all right, yeah, no, I need to actually investigate more because it just like triggered this memory of like, all right, I know this song. Wait a minute.
Cool.
Yeah, it rules. I cannot recommend it enough. Like perfect. It's great amalgamation of all the shit that was happening in the mid to late 60s. They were on, I don't know if they were on majors. It like maybe like larger indies. Like they had some hits in West Germany. Like Painter Man was the name of their LP was We Are the Painter Men. So that must have been one of the big ones. I think they've maybe had a couple top 40s, but no top 10s. So like minor hits. And they mentioned in the booklet, like Paul Weller from the Jam was really into them. Like I guess on one of the Jam records, like they have some of those singles and like a collage of things in the artwork. Yeah, like I from as Mike and Jordan know, not too big on the Jam myself, but when I went back and listened after what's his face died, I can kind of hear more of the crazy. Again, I'm not a huge Jam guy, so I know the guy died.
No, just carry
on. Yeah, it makes sense. Like it's cool. Like it's like some hard mod. I guess that's a term.
I think the Creation were considered like a mod group. I think.
Yeah.
Like they're dressed like it. It's hard to tell on this, but like let me see if there's some other, like some of the single artwork on there. And yeah, it's a great collection. Like I said, there's 2 LPs, so it's pretty big. Yeah, if you're into any 60s UK stuff, don't let the violin bow on the guitar scare you away.
Actually, entices me.
Cool.
Don't think that they're ripping off Jimmy Page. It's the other way.
Nice. There we have it. We've covered the 60s.
1960s.
Yes.
Took us 33 minutes to cover the 60s.
Well,
those are the 4 most important records of the 60s right there.
Exactly.
That's right.
Been decided.
According to Pitchfork.
All right, let's get into the 70s. Punk has been invented in the UK. I said that on purpose. I know. Okay, when we think of like that first wave of like UK punk bands, who springs immediately?
The Damned.
The Damned. Any other offers? The Damned.
The Clash.
Buzzcocks.
Big
Boys. Buzzcocks.
Or
not the Big Boys.
Obviously the Sex Pistols, but
Eater.
The Drones.
My experiment worked. I knew like nobody would say this band, and like I think they deserve to be mentioned in the same breath of all of the big bands from this era. Like nobody ever talks about this band. They probably do, but you know what I mean. It's like they're sort of left behind a little bit compared to the bands that we all just went around and mentioned.
So you got really into Wire in the last week.
It's not Wire. They're on Virgin Records. They formed in 1976. They were from the northeast of England. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. most people would probably choose their first LP, I think, if they were going to talk about this band. The first LP is called Moving Targets. I much prefer the second LP. And when I briefly looked into this on the internet, my opinion was wrong, according to the internet, because everyone loves the first LP. I think the second LP is like way better. It's like a classic Desert Island, like 10 out of 10 disc. It's their second LP. It's called Coming Up for Air. Of course, I'm talking about the magnificent Penetration, man. This record is like, in one sense, like ahead of its time, but then like it draws like so much from like 70s hard rock in the guitar playing and the rhythm section. It's got two guitarists. It doesn't sound like any other punk band from the era. It does really have this like 70s, like Thin Lizzy, kind of harder hitting, like Wishbone-ash backbone to the whole record. It's like, it's kind of simple, but it's also like deep. There's like lots going on in this record, lots of kind of time changes. You know, two guitarists. You know what? I only found out about this today as I was kind of looking into this a little bit. You know, as I said, I always felt this band had a real like hard rock backbone to them. And when I looked into it, I found out that when they broke up, like one of the guitar players joined the Tigers of Pantang.
Oh.
Yeah, I knew that like hard rock thing was just there. So yeah, after John Sykes left Tigers of Pantang, one of their guitar players hopped over and joined the Tigers of Pantang for the Cage LP, which was not one of the best Tigers of Pantang LPs, but nevertheless, he has that hard rock. You know, and there is some like new wave British heavy metal in this band, just like you know, that kind of more 70s hard rock, like new wave British heavy metal, but it's also punk at the same time. But really, like the star of this band is Pauline Murray, like the vocalist, man, one of the like best singers of the era, like hands down, like just amazing like vocal performance, really like technically proficient vocalist, big range, very lazy comparison. It's like kind of like Debbie Harry meets like polystyrene kind of thing, you know. Yeah. Opening track, Shout Above the Noise, is kind of real pop punker, real catchy, poppy, but then they kind of go real deep. So these like hard rock songs, you know, this like these amazing vocalists on top. Coming to the Open was kind of a minor hit single. Last song, New Recruit, it's like anti-war song with like same kind of lyrical themes as Kate Bush's Army Dreamers. Kind of tell the story about soldiers signing up to be in the army and stuff. Got real melancholic and kind of dark and kind of a little bit proggy in a way. But man, what a fucking incredible band. Nobody ever talks about like Penetration when they're talking about. I mean, this was like 1979. We're moving into sort of new wave now. But I mean, their first single came out in like 76. So they were on the ground, like, you know, from day one. Man, this is like a 10 out of 10 like record for me. But it seems like most people prefer the first LP, which is definitely more like punky than this record.
Were they on that live at the Roxy comp?
I think, you know what? I think they were. Yeah, I think
that might be the only time I've actually heard them if they're on that.
And if you think like
one of the other times I was on the show, I picked a Jesus and Mary Chain bootleg where they covered one of those a song from Penetration, but I fucked it up and I said the Penetrators, which I don't think is a real band.
Yeah. That's what made Penetration had been shown before. I remembered that exchange.
Yeah, it was that, and then I just want another one of those things like always in my head. Oh, I need to investigate more because like the song on that bootleg was good, but I just never remembered to actually listen. I mean, I recognize that cover art, but yeah.
I can't think of another band from this era that sort of melded like what had happened in punk and what was going to happen in new wave so perfectly with like kind of 70s like hard rock. I can't think of anyone else that did it as well as this band did. It's just kind of a one of a kind band. And if you think you might not have heard Pauline Murray's vocals, if you're familiar with the Only Ones Fools song, that song Fools on the first album, Pauline Murray is the singer who sings along with Peter Parrott on that song. So, you know, if you haven't heard Penetration, you would have heard her voice on that Only Ones song. Yeah.
You know, Mike, I've got their first two LPs, and I'll be honest, I bought them both I had never heard them. Like you're saying, I never heard anyone talk about them, but it looked like a punk record. The date on the back made sense to me. And I played it once and I liked it, but it really didn't make like a huge impact on me. But it's like what you're preaching now. Like I can't wait to go and pull those out again.
Honestly, it's not like a wow. It doesn't hit you over the head with a sledgehammer like first play. There's a lot going on. It's quite deep. There's a lot of subtleties bubbling under the surface of the music. Yeah, definitely takes a few listens. They had like one more LP, like between the first one and the second and this one. They had like an official like demos and live LP as well, which is also like really good. But this is my penetration pick. Just notice mine has green tape at the top. Didn't steal it from Maximum Rock and Roll. I don't know where this green tape.
Tim's ghost is coming for you.
But that's my 70s pick. Kind of underlooked, kind of a little bit ignored. And you know what? She had a great solo career too. In fact, like the drummer of the Buzzcocks was in her band.
Oh.
She put out a couple of records like Pauline Murray and the Invisible Girls and a couple of other like Pauline Murray solo records, which are just great, straight up like pop music of the era. So great singer. Almost like too good to be in a punk band kind of level, like singing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my second penetration coming up for air. Produced by Steve Lillywhite. Big name producer. There you go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm going to remember to actually listen to that now.
And
again,
one more thing. Sorry. It's like I was talking to Ken from Prank Records about this. He said it's a Desert Island disc for him too, like a 10 out of 10. Like,
okay.
So
it's Prank approved.
I trust Prank over the internet.
I do too.
You know, so there you go.
There you go.
All right. Race Against Time. That's a killer song. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead, Jordan. Go ahead.
No problem. So this record, this is the 8th studio record by this band.
8th.
8th record, yes. And 8th record in 6 years of being a band. So think of how prolific that must be. This is a concept record that came out in 1970. And to be honest with you, when I first saw this record, I dismissed it because of the hits that are on this record are very good songs, but a little overplayed. And so I never really paid much attention to this record until my wife introduced it to me about 20 years ago. And I absolutely fell in love with this fucking record. It's a rock and roll record. And from a really prolific band that was going through a lot of turmoil at this time. And even the funny part about this is that the 2 hit songs that charted on this record, the singer had to cancel tours and fly back to the UK to change lyrics in songs so that they wouldn't have any legal issues. The concept of it is fuck you to the music industry, to accountants, to managers, to all the type of legal shit that this band was going on. They were being sued at this point in time by an old manager. And so they basically dumped a lot of hatred into this amazing record that they put out.
I can't even guess.
Talking about the Kinks.
Lola
versus the Powerman and the Moneygoround Part 1. So it's it's famous for Lola being a big hit and 8 Man being a big hit. But to be honest with you, those aren't the best songs on the record.
They are good songs, though. Absolutely.
They are great songs. But I honestly, the songs that really make it for me are all the personal introspective songs that they have on this. And all the turmoil the band was having, and like the kind of whimsical, satirical nature of some of the songs, like The Moneygoround kind of has this like very whimsical, making fun of like record executives. Like I said, they had to fly back from the United States twice to change lyrics. They had to change the lyric of Coca-Cola to Cherry Cola so they wouldn't get sued by Coca-Cola. And then also after 8 Man became popular, had to fly back to change a lyric in one of their and that as well. Wow. I forget the story on that, which exactly happened there. They were getting sued. The 2 brothers weren't getting along very well. Matter of fact, Ray Davies wrote a song on this record, A Long Way From Home. to his brother, basically being like, hey, we're in this for the long run. He introduced a piano player who was very integral in this record. I mean, it is all over, whether he's playing the organ or the piano, and it really just makes this a very magical, in my opinion, a very magical record. Strangers is a complete classic. It's one of 2 songs that were written by Dave Davies on the record, who stopped writing music with the band a lot. He wrote that and Rats, which is a really good song on this record as well. And Strangers is about the death of a close personal friend. But yeah, just what a great record. And there's just so much history behind the band. And the fact that they wrote this record and we're going to even make a second record. That's why it's part 1. And they just never got around to doing it. And it isn't the first concept record they had, but it's definitely like the most kind of pissed off that they were as a band, just being like, this is all just bullshit. I mean, this is a rock and roll hit parade bullshit. They make fun of Top of the Pops on there. They make fun of the accountants, the unions, like everything they go in after. But at the same time, it's just an amazingly well-crafted record. I mean, just beautiful all the way through. Not a bad song on it.
Nice pick. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Beautiful.
Their output at that time period is insane.
It's insane. They released 3 records in 3 straight years, and they were all concept records.
And arguably, the inventors of that fucking distorted guitar sound, putting a razor blade through his amp or whatever he did.
Yeah, they had the dual guitar stuff, and then they would do like texturing with like different types of guitars over each other, and then they would harmonize, the 2 brothers harmonizing the way they would sing. Amazing.
Yeah, a phenomenal band. I mean, I even like their 80s records too. Like, I think they were a band that kind of transitioned really well to the 80s, and one of the all-time great bands.
I always felt like they should be in the same realm as the Rolling Stones and the Beatles when it came to the history of UK rock and roll. And I always feel like they're kind of put down a little bit of a notch. And I don't understand, because I like their output so much. I mean, whatever. It's not a comparison's sake, but just in general, just what they were doing was so amazing. And I think that the Beatles get so much more credit for being doing concept records when they had written concept records way before the Beatles did.
I just don't think they have that sort of commercial appeal in their image and this, that, and the other, and they were like very all over the map. But that meant the Beatles were too. But they don't have a Mick Jagger in the band, or like. But you're right; they absolutely do deserve to be in that level.
Yeah, well, I mean, like Jordan said, when the concept of the record is like a fuck you to the record industry, I mean, that's not going to really help their cause, probably.
Yeah,
especially.
Well, I mean, back then they were kind of like dealing with a lot of like manager lawsuits. Like I said, they were dealing with a label that they signed to. There's a lot of like politics that happened in the 50s and 60s with bands getting ripped off, and they were one of those bands that were getting ripped off. I mean, basically they had to play gigs so they could survive as a band, even though they were selling millions and millions of copies of records.
I mean,
they've been ripped off so much.
Yeah, I mean, their sort of commercial peak might have been in the 80s when, with Come Dancing, all those hits they had in the States in the 80s.
Yeah.
They kind of transitioned quite well to sort of the MTV.
They knew how to make a hit song.
Yeah.
Well, oddly enough, they went 3 years between 67 and 1970 without having a chart buster, which was a Lola, which is kind of interesting.
Right. Beautiful. Perfect pick. Amazing.
Good stuff.
Yeah. All right.
Nice.
Good.
So, Mike, when you were introducing Penetration, for a hot second there, I thought we were actually gonna have like a repeat pick.
Oh,
we didn't.
Yeah.
The Slits.
Hide the cover.
It doesn't get demonetized now.
You know what?
There goes my pocket money.
They got mud on it.
Yes. And also, you can, if you listen to this record on YouTube, they show the cover on.
They do. I think it's okay.
We're not getting money.
It's okay. We're 50 minutes in. I think we're okay. We're safe.
Yeah. So this record cut by the Slits.
There you go.
So the Slits, I mean, they're legendary at this point. If you don't know, originally all female band. Started, I forget if it's 77 or 76, but this is their first LP. This is 79. Before this, they had a couple of Peel sessions that you can hear. Started off much more traditionally punk sounding. Like if you want to seek those Peel sessions out, they're really good. And you can hear earlier versions of some of the songs that are on this record. By the time this record comes out, they've really embraced like dub and reggae to the point that if you had just heard this without ever hearing any backstory or context of this band, you would probably consider it a reggae record, not a punk record. I think when you see the cover, you read the song titles, if you listen to the lyrics, you catch the attitude, you can still see that punk spirit is present here. Man, what a great record.
That's a great record.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared for this when I heard it the first time, I'll be honest. Like I had read a ton of write-ups about it.
It takes a while to digest that reggae.
Yeah. Well, and I'll be very honest with you guys. Like, I'm not a huge reggae head by any means. And white reggae, especially, and white punks doing reggae is almost always dreadful, in my opinion. Like, it's really a mood killer for me. Somehow, like the songs that they do on this that are more reggae than the Peel sessions, I like better on here for some reason. Like, I don't. It's illogical. Knowing my own proclivities, it's illogical.
Yeah, that's right. It was produced by Dennis Bobel, legendary reggae.
Yeah. Oh God, the bass sound on this is so cavernous. Like, play this on a good stereo. The bass sound is so cavernous. Budgie from Susie and the Banshees came in on this record to play drums. The rhythm section is killer on this. It's just this huge dubby. Oh God, it's so good. And then the rest of the instrumentation is it's really unique. Like, it's hard to describe. It's almost more like art rock even than punk. A lot of like unison vocals by the various female members of the band. And the vocals can go from like kind of almost like a bored kind of drone to chirps to shrieks. And sometimes it's like all three of them layered together at the same time. The production is so key. I mean, to dub in general, but like to this record, it really does it a lot of favors. Like, this is something where if I put this on and people are over, they haven't heard this, everyone loves this record. It doesn't matter what their background is. It's like, you can't put this on and like be in a bad mood. It's like the exact opposite of the Silver Apples, where it's like you put that on when it's like the end of the night and you want people to go home. Like, this is what you put on when you want like people to stay and have a good time. Like, it sounds like a party record. It sounds like they're having a party making it. Yeah, like, I can't say enough good things about it. Like, if you haven't heard it, or if you've only heard it a couple times and you're on the fence, go back and revisit it and like crank it up loud. And it's really, really great stuff.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah.
The Slits.
Cut the Slits.
Here's the thing: is not. I love that cover too. It's so like just in your face.
Oh,
like,
you would.
Yeah.
It's like they're like these primitive wild women. Like, they're smeared, like they're wearing loincloths. They're smeared with mud.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, in the UK, there was always a big tie-in with like reggae and punk, like right from day one. You know, so it was a very natural.
Well, like how many bands did it well? I mean, I guess you could say the Clash. I mean, opinions are very split on the Clash.
The Ruts.
Pill, early Pill. Like
I skip Jaw War if I'm in the car listening.
I would rather hear the reggae on this than the reggae on the Bad Brains LP, to be honest with you.
I would too,
I
actually.
think somehow it comes off more legit, which seems completely unreasonable to even say that, but
all right. Bill.
All right, 70s.
The 70s.
70s. Yeah, we're not done yet, Mike. We're not done.
70s.
All right, so last weekend, through just kind of a quirk of fate and timing, I kind of lived the West German music fan of the 70s Dream Weekend. I was able to see Michael Rother from Noy on Thursday. And then on Saturday night, I was able to see Kraftwerk.
Whoa.
So yeah, Quirk of Fate. They played the same weekend in Chicago.
Wow.
Michael Rother was at the Empty Bottle. Great legendary local club that even my dumbass bands have played a couple times. And then Kraftwerk was at the Auditorium Theater, which was built in like 1890. So it's, the stately seated affair. So similar peers, but vastly different environments, but both great shows. So you would think, am I going to go for early Kraftwerk that they don't acknowledge anymore when they still had Klaus Dinger on drums? No. Am I going to go for the classics with the Kraftwerk? No.
Are you going to go?
Am I going to go? No, too.
Too many contextuals.
No, I'm not going to, because he didn't play for Immer. He skipped over it. Am I going to go to La Dusseldorf because he had Hans Lempe from La Dusseldorf on drums?
I know where you're going. I can guess where you're going.
I'm not going to.
I know what you're going to go with.
What I'm going to do, I hope, Jesus, that slapped real loud. What I am going to go to, I realized this, because originally I was going to go with that Kraftwerk bootleg. But as I was watching the two shows, the biggest smile that came over my face was when Rother went into the first song from this, the title track from Harmonia, Deluxe.
I thought you were going to choose Harmonia, but I didn't think you were going to choose that.
Yeah, most folks prefer the first one. That's where it's just Michael Rother and the two guys from Cluster, Mobius and Rodelius. I think I can't pronounce German that well. But this I would say is probably my favorite one. So on this one, it's Rother and Mobius and Rodelius, but they also have got Manny Neumeier from Guru Guru on drums. So it's got a human playing drums on, I want to say, 4 of the 6 tracks. Yeah, he started in on the opening bit of Deluxe, Immer Weiter, and just the biggest, dumbest smile plastered on my face. And for the next 10 minutes, I felt like I'd been gassed by the Joker, where I just had the perma smile on my face. I'm like, fuck. Yeah, all right. And it's just got this, I mean, if you've ever heard the opening song on this, just that riff where it's doo. No, I'm not going to do it because it's just going to sound fucking stupid.
Sing every song.
It's going to sound terrible. It's not worth me doing an imitation of it. But it's just got this riff that just floats over you. And that's what a lot of this does. So there's one song that is a little bit more kind of faster motoric stuff. So that's Manza, Rauf und Ruter. Again, sorry for my pronunciation. So that's kind of the, speedier motoric based one where it's, nice and long and you get a groove in, but a lot more of the record is real slow and the synths and the guitars just kind of wash over you. So it's kind of like a real life, audio version of the back cover of this where they're just on a lake and, you got the guy on the boat, the speedboat just kind of coming past you. It sounds in the distance. It's got the soundscape aspect to it. There's some vocals on it. There's some chanting on that first song. They didn't bring any vocals with it. They only played the first track from this one. So it was just the title track. There's a couple others with kind of light vocalizations, but it's nothing that really comes to a verse and a chorus or anything like that. And then there's other ones where it's got the, kind of electronic drums, more like the first album, more like Music von Harmonia. But even those are a little bit more up tempo. Yeah, it's it was a great weekend for German music, and this just the biggest, dumbest smile on my face. And Rother played for 80 minutes, and the guy is 76, 77 years old, maybe. And the low end, he's maybe 73. And he was standing the whole time playing the guitar, messing around with his electronic stuff. And Hans Lempe on drums, doing the whole motoric bit for 80 minutes when he's also in his 70s. Just blows my fucking mind. He was on it the whole time. He was killing it on the drums.
Wow.
It's not it's not proggy fill shit. It's keeping the beat going and making sure you've got the propulsion of the music.
Wow.
he did that better than people my age and people that are younger. And
he's been doing it for a long time and sort of honed it.
50 plus years. And he had this weird kit where it was semi-acoustic, semi-electric, like everything was, you could tell they were playing live instruments. Like it wasn't kind of like Kraftwerk where it was, you know, setting up loops and then like occasional like keyboard stuff over it. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Like Kraftwerk was still a super fun show. But the difference is Kraftwerk, I felt like I've seen, like that was my first time seeing him, and it was a great experience, but it was also, you know, all right, I've seen it. You know, it was my Christmas present for my wife, so the tickets were nicer than I would have bought if it was just for me. So we got like kind of mid-range seats, and those were like $130 before fees. Like it was really expensive. Most expensive show I've been to. Like I've been to whole fests that cost less than that show. Rother wasn't cheap, but I would go see Rother again in a heartbeat. Like I don't think he's going to come through again. Like last time he was here was 15 years ago. And he said he last played the Bottle in 1998. So it's not like the guy's an active touring musician in the United States, but yeah, man, I could have watched him play for another hour. And I put this on the drive home. Like usually I'm not the person that will put on the like music of the band I just saw for the drive home. Immediately put this on, and then, you know, that dumbass Joker smile came back. Like, I love it. It was so good. And yeah, there's a couple of like, this is a weird Russian reissue from the mid 2000s. It's got some other pictures. Like they just kind of, those guys all just had a house in like an estate that was on a lake where they just lived and made a couple great albums and then decided, you know what, I think I'm done. And Rother moved somewhere else. Band was done. And yeah, it's great stuff. It was a pretty fantastic weekend. Just the fact that those two were in town on the same weekend was just, it was great. I can't recommend this enough. Like the first Harmonia album is great. I like this one more, and I can almost completely attune it to having the guy from Guru Guru on drums. Like it just adds that extra propulsion to it. So yeah, this is my pick for the 70s. This is from 1975. So great stuff.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Let's head into the 80s. Let's pick it up. Let's pick it up. Move into the 80s. You know,
in the middle of the street.
I don't know how this happened actually, but I'm glad it did. It's been giving me a lot of joy over the last 3, 4, 5, or 6 weeks. I started listening to a certain kind of music. It's more of a movement, really, that we had in the UK in the 80s, based around an important record label run by Jerry Dammers from the Specials called Two Tone. Man, like, so when I was a kid, this stuff was like really mainstream pop music. It really was. It was on the radio all the time, on the TV. I was at a point in my life where I wasn't really appreciating it, although I did like some of the songs. I mean, Madness was fucking huge. And you know what? I've never owned a Madness record in my life. I know like all of the hits, like even down to knowing the lyrics. Like Madness were amazing, but they were kind of like the Slade of Two Tone, you know, like kind of funny videos, you know, like wacky image. But underneath all that, just like the best pop songs, you know. The Specials, the beat or the English beat. But if I was going to sort of introduce somebody to one record from this two-tone movement from like 80, 81, it would absolutely be this one. I think it stands apart from all the rest of the bands. They're kind of unique. They have an amazing singer, also called Pauline. And it's funny, I just bought this record for the first time in my life. I've been like playing it to death. Talking about the selector and Too Much Pressure.
Awesome.
Man, I mean, people think I don't like ska. Fair point. But man, how can you not like all this stuff? It's just like, and it's
you skank around the room.
You want to do that, but it's just like it's legit, you know, legit. It's like the second wave of ska, you know, or the ska, whatever you want to call it, you know. It's all based on the original like 60s Jamaican ska, but we've had punk, so it's kind of ramped up a bit. And I was like, okay, is it really that ramped up? So what I did, I've been going back and listening to like, okay, bear with me. It's a contextual. But I mean, going back and listening to like these sort of the Trojan story stuff. Yeah, there's a huge leap between this stuff and like what bands like the Selector were doing, you know, in the 80s. It's just like, this sounds real old timey. It's great, but it's like, it sounds real old timey. And, you know, it's like the Selector ramped it up, as did the Specials and the Beat too. But I know there's just something about the Selector, and they don't have a horn section.
Yeah.
Which, you know, is kind of rare for a ska band. Like 2 guitar players, Hammond organ as well. It's like the Hammond organ, man. Like going back to sort of Jackie Mittoo, that kind of sound. Like Hammond organ, 2 guitar players. They have like a guest trombone player, you know, which is Rico from the fucking Specials. You know, comes in and plays a bit of trombone. You know, you hear the word trombone, you might be recoiling in horror. Do not. It's amazing. I remember like hearing this band on the radio back then and thinking, wow, this is kind of weird. Like, and it's all down to like Pauline Black's vocals. They're very like avant-garde. She's an amazing singer, especially like the chorus to like On My Radio, like falsetto. It's not what you'd expect from a ska record. It's just that new wave and punk influence kind of coming in. And I mean, On My Radio, Missing Words. It's like another fucking amazing song. 3 Minute Hero. It's like, it's real like hard hitting, but it's just so much fun. It's just like
the James Bond theme.
The James Bond theme is even great.
It has the anthem for 2025 of every day things are getting worse.
It's just fucking top to bottom. I think the other day, I posted it, Scoots, right? Or you did first, and you were like, yeah, it's like, had a shit day. I put this on like on a Sunday morning, whatever, and it's like immediately kind of lists.
I've listened to that like 3 times in the last week. It's so good.
Me too. And I don't know like how this happened. It's not even a rabbit hole because I'm familiar with all this music. Like I know all the songs, but I don't really know the deep cuts because I've never owned like one of the records before. So, but like, man, it's a 10 out of 10 record. And to me, this is like the real like ska punk, but I almost want to like leave the punk part out of it. It kind of weakens it if you kind of throw punk in there. But you know, this is definitely ska influenced by punk. You know, absolutely, 100%.
Well, what were the
band is super tight. It's got great production.
Yeah,
it's like that. Just that alone lifts it from like the actual Jamaican stuff, which sounds like it was like recorded in a fucking tin can.
But yeah,
no shade because that stuff is cool, but you can tell the technology and techniques have gotten so much better.
But it still has that sort of real warm, like analog feel to it. Sounds perfect. They were from Coventry, when you know, the Specials were from Coventry too. Yeah, and I want to say, if you don't have this record and you're thinking of buying it, get the US pressing, or Canadian, or Swedish, or Japanese. Either of those 4 will do it. Why? It's because it has On My Radio as the lead off track. The UK original version does not have On My Radio on the record. So
what version is that, Mike?
The single?
This is a US pressing, like first US pressing.
Chrysalis?
Chrysalis, yeah.
Chrysalis, yeah.
The UK original does not have it because On My Radio was a standalone like single. So they didn't put it on the LP, but in the States it wasn't. So you get it as a bonus track on the US pressing. So
okay, makes sense. Okay.
Get the US pressing, skank around your room. This is timeless music. Even if you think you don't like ska or, you know, man, just the best. Just absolutely the best. And it really is like Pauline Black's vocals really elevate it to something really, really special. There you go.
That's another one where when people come over who are maybe not like punks, but they can kind of hang with a little bit of punk, like you can put that on. You can put the English beat on. Like no one is going to turn their nose up at those records. Like
it has
everyone
punk energy going right the way through it. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like a good transition. You can sneak into like the undertones or the buzzcocks after that, and it's like people don't even know like that you're pulling a fast one on them.
No, it has a ska beat, but it's definitely
And then you go to Real Big Fish, and the party really gets started.
Too much pressure.
The Bad Manners 10 Numero set.
And I love the cover.
cover's amazing. All the two-tone records look amazing, like all of them. Look at that. Two guitar player, Hammond organ, like Pauline Black, can go wild at the front. No horn section. No horn section in a ska band. You got to respect that. The second LP.
You had posted that Dance Craze soundtrack reissue the other day.
I have it right
That's
here.
the first one I heard. Like, I actually found that LP before I'd heard any of those bands. I found that LP at a Salvation Army.
Wow.
It's a thrift store in the U.S. if you haven't heard. I mean, this is in literally like 1992, I think. But yeah, that cover, I love that cover. Like, it's so cool. Like the way they did the lettering on the checkers.
Yeah, it's cool.
This is the recent box, which has like a bonus double.
You can kill a man with that.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's huge. Is that a
life jacket in there?
Yeah. But it's nice. It's nice. So it's everything that's on here needs to be on here, you know. And also, if you want to go a bit deeper, the Selector, the second LP is pretty good too.
That's pretty. I've got that one too. That's pretty solid as well.
All right, that's my 80s pick. Exactly 1980. That came out. So
just skirting in.
Just get there.
Yeah. All
right.
Mr. Atkins, what's your 80s?
I'm going punk rock now.
I thought hardcore, right?
I gave a couple rock and roll. Now I'm going 1982. Okay, I honestly don't understand why this album isn't considered one of the great early 80s US punk records. I put it on par with Adolescence Blue record. I put it on with early Black Flag. I put it up there with Minor Threat and Government Issue and SSD. And they were right there within all that stuff that was happening, except for this poor band just happened to be from Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay.
I'm talking about
Zero Boys.
Yeah.
Vicious Circle.
I almost wore that shirt tonight, Jordan.
That would have been great. I've been like, look at this. I mean, what are you going to say about this record? Why? I guess my big question is, why isn't this seen as like one of the greatest like punk records ever written? It's absolutely flawlessly executed punk rock. It's snotty. The guitar leads are absolutely brilliant on it. It's recorded great. According to Paul Moran, the lead singer, when they went in to record the record, they went into a professional studio, and he used to do record engineering. He had his own record label, Affirmation, where he put out the master tapes, volume 1 and 2, which is a compilation of bands mostly from the Midwest that he's trying to highlight. So he's really knows how to engineer stuff. But they went into a pro studio to do this record. They only did it in 2 days, and like it's just blistering. Every song is like, it could be a punk classic, but my favorite song is Civilization's Dying.
Yep.
I mean, that song, in my opinion, in my lexicon of punk is up there with all the punk classics. It is such an amazing song. The drumming's amazing. The bass player, he's just all over the place, and he's playing like super crazy fast. Tuffy, I think is his name. Yeah.
Vocals are snotty as hell.
Oh, so snotty. Yeah. And, they still play all the time. And every time I've seen them, they've been good, even in their older age. And, they had kind of a short existence. I mean, they've kind of reformed and did some stuff later on after this. But, they basically did an EP, Living in the 80s, which they also put on this record. And then they did this record. And then they basically were about to record a second record and broke up. And then those tracks got released as History Of.
Yeah.
But one of the funny parts about this, when they went into the studio, Paul, the singer, walked in there and gave them the Germs GI and said, "I want the record to sound like that." Which is interesting because the Germs, one of the reasons why the Germs record really blows everybody away is that it is professionally produced. It's like a raw punk band, but it sounds amazing. And it's exactly like this record. I mean, this record sounds absolutely fantastic. It doesn't
sound like it was recorded in 1982.
It does not.
Is it
it sounds like it could have been recorded.
Giordino, what was that? Who produced it?
It said it was engineered by John Helms, and but I think Paul Moran, the singer, worked behind it as well. I mean, I was an in and out 2 day, as much as they could afford and got out kind of situation. So it wasn't like they were crafting like, Sweet Child of Mine for 5 days or something, But anyway, I love the cover art. It's like just snotty, and I don't know. It's just great lyrics too, though, kind of in that like kind of West Coast kind of way of, just being like very nihilistic. But man, High Time, Down the Drain, Drug-Free Youth, New Generation, Amphetamine Addiction. I mean, it just the record just kills, and it's been reissued a lot. It's not an expensive record. It's not hard to get. This and The History Of, I think, got recently reissued as well. So you should definitely, if you don't have it, you should have it. It's the best. I kind of want the Toxic Shock one, the kind of ugly green one too, just to have the different variation of the cover. But yeah, they did a big repressing that happened too. Yeah, mostly in the late 80s and 90s, and they kept it going.
Like your punk collection is not complete unless you have a copy of that.
I really think so. It's like having a Discharge record, or having Damage from Black Flag or The Germs. It's like you have to have that record.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Man,
I would almost rather listen to the Zero Boys than any of the stuff you just mentioned too. I mean, and no shade to any of those records, but man, that record just smokes top to bottom.
It just starts and the needle drops and just all the way through just kills.
Yeah. Like every song practically could be a single.
Yeah. Yeah. They put it, it's amazing when a band can just focus and just do it. And like they captured it.
Mm-mm-mm. Beautiful.
Killer.
Yeah, absolutely. Classic. All right.
All right. I'm also going into the punk realm now. Actually moving even a little further past punk, but we're definitely well within the punk realm here.
Yeah.
I got a segue for that later.
Okay. Corrosion of Conformity, Animosity. This is the second full LP. So this is, I guess most people would call this crossover. The first Eye for an Eye we're all familiar with, kind of is on par, like you're saying, Jordan. Damaged, Group Sex, Zero Boys, like those are foundational punk records, hardcore records that everyone should own. Like Eye for an Eye is right up there for me. That's very much a pure hardcore record. The hardcore bona fides are still here, but they're definitely moving in a more metal direction. You hear the hardcore in here, but I mean, this is just absolute raging hardcore. What does it sound like? Animosity. Look at the cover. It's Pusshead. You know what it sounds like. It's truth in advertising. So good. I mean, this band has had like a lot of style changes over the years that are, for me, not always great moves. What is everyone's favorite COC record here?
Oh, you don't want to know my answer.
No.
Mike goes deep on their catalog.
Right. America's Volume Dealer.
Albatross on it.
I like Eye for an Eye the best, but I also really love that record as well.
Yeah. For me, I kind of end at like the late 80s. That first, what is the first one in 91? Down, is it called?
Down's the band that Pepper Keenan does.
That's not too hard.
I forget the name, but like they're like they're true metal at that point. Like there's no hint of hardcore or crossover at that point.
That's the one where the album cover is like the speaker, right?
I like that one. That's either Blind.
Blind. That's yeah.
Yeah, the one I'm thinking of is more like designy. I don't know. They put out a lot of records, and then they kind of went into more like straight metal or like stoner rock, which there's an audience for that apparently. It's not me, but
I love the song Albatross. I think that's on Blind. I think it's just fucking. I don't know. It's just it's got this Sabbath.
Yeah, like I mean, I've tuned out of looking at their stuff after a point because it was just more diminishing returns.
Deliverance.
That's it. Thanks.
People like that. It's cool, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
One of the greatest punk like hardcore bass players. I love the way he plays bass.
Yeah, he just quit again. I saw like they're in the studio and like because they got that lineup back together in like 2009, and they were around for all because I saw the reunion of the 3-piece Animosity lineup, and I want to say it was 2011. And they did 2 records with that lineup that were I didn't buy them, but I heard them and they were kind of all right. Like I bought a 7-inch that they did, and I think I listened to it twice and filed it away. But yeah, I guess like Mike Dean just quit again. So it's because Reed Mullen died a couple years ago.
Yeah, that's a killer. Technocracy is great. 6 songs with Mike singing is great too.
Yeah, those are great.
I love both of those.
Me too.
Yeah, I saw the stoner rock version opening for Motorhead just about 20 years ago.
Wow.
And
I actually have that poster in my kitchen.
Wow.
Oh, for this. They were watchable. It was okay, but yeah, I was 18 years old and I just wanted to see Motorhead, so it was like torture. In retrospect, they were fine, but yeah, at the time, just like, come on, finish.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to choose between Eye for an Eye and this. Like I honestly love them both. Like Eye for an Eye it's that particular flavor of US hardcore where it's just like so dark and weird. Like
something about
Mutation, Void,
that North Carolina
face.
Yeah.
And you know what? When I looked up to see, like, with all the North Carolina guests you've had on here, Mike, I'm actually kind of shocked that this was never shown.
I think another COC record's been shown though.
Yeah, one of them, 6 songs with Mike singing, I think, might have been shown.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is like raging crossover if you're into Attitude Adjustment, Cryptic Slaughter, DRI. It's like very in that vein, but absolute great band. Punishing. Again, it's truth in advertising. Animosity is what it is.
Because that was recorded in 2 different sessions, right? Because like half the songs have this weird drum, like super processed drum sound that kind of in a vacuum sounds like shit, but in the context of the record sounds fucking amazing because it just sounds otherworldly. You know what I mean? Like a couple of the songs, I can't think of the names of them right now, but like it's just got this super flat sounding snare drum. Or maybe I'm thinking of something else.
You're saying this about Animosity?
About Animosity, yeah.
Oh no, I didn't notice that.
Huh, maybe that's just me.
Yeah, and I don't have any background on the recording of it.
Okay.
All right. Bill, what's your 80s?
My 80s pick.
80s.
Again, firmly moving into the punk world now. Jordan, this actually relates partially to your t-shirt. So this is a band from Chicago. This came out in 1985. It's one of those ones where it's kind of more known for the people that were in the band that did other stuff beforehand or did other stuff after. It is Bloodsport, I Am the Game. You don't really hear too much about this. This was one of those bands that I knew about because John Haggerty from Naked Ray Gun, there are a bunch of pictures of him wearing a t-shirt for Bloodsport, like in those Naked Ray Gun CD reissues I had in high school that I just like obsessively reread the liner notes of and looked at the pictures of. Good reason, because his younger brother Joe drummed in it, who went on into Pegboy. And the other guy that you might know is Chris Bjorklund. He was in Strike Under and Trial by Fire.
Yeah.
So it's those 2 guys with a couple of others. So this was recorded by Ian Burgess, however you say his name.
Burgess,
yeah. So he recorded basically everything coming out of Chicago at that point. Like he worked with Naked Ray Gun, worked with Big Black, Articles of Faith, Effigies he did stuff with. The other day I was trolling around on Discogs, like he even worked with Poison Idea later on, which I didn't know. Like he mixed some of the like late 80s, early 90s stuff. He kept working, like he recorded a bunch of shellac stuff later on too, so he kept the relationship with Albini going. So this came out in 85 on Homestead, and it's their only record. They had a demo that no one's ever sold on Discogs. I've never seen it. And then it had one song on a comp called Hog Butchers of the World, or Hog Butchers of the World Unite, one of the two of them, I can't remember. Chicago-based, yeah, Hog Butcher of the World. But it came out in 85. It sounds, it's like the Ruts and the Effigies Junior. Like it's that perfect mix of like slightly noodly. So it's not just straight up like 3-chord punk or 3-chord hardcore. There's a lot of musicianship involved. Like it super Ruts influenced, super Effigies influenced, which makes sense because later on in the late 80s, eventually the entire lineup of this band minus the singer became the lineup of the Effigies. They just backed up John Kesney for a couple of years.
Wow.
And then the singer started a band with Earl, who had just quit the Effigies at that point. So a lot of ins and outs with the Effigies there. But it's not a ripoff though. Like it's just got that same kind of super catchy like songwriting ability where there's actual riffs to it. There's guitar playing. It's not just chords. There's a song on here that's called Hangman's Dance that played in a different context. The riff is enough where it sounds like speed metal, but it's done in a punk way and it's got a punk singer on top of it. And I remember one of the other times I was on the show, Mike, we were talking about punk songs that have whistling in it. This has one. It's called Rhymes of Reason. So it's only 7 songs, but like every song is a standout. It's got just cool ass cover too, like the Rock'em Sock'em Robots on it. My favorite one on here is Ghost of Scrooge. It's just got this descending riff where it's upbeat, it's up tempo, it's not hardcore speed, it's just like kind of driving, like it's great stuff. It's super melodic. All of the songs and all the riffs are gonna get stuck in your head after you hear it. It's pretty diverse for only being like 7 songs. Like it's got the kind of speed metal song, it's got the whistling, it's got all the Ruts ones. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's good. Like anyone who hears the song Ghost of Scrooge, you're gonna have that stuck in your head. Like there's points where I'll have that riff in my head and I'll think like, what the fuck is that song? And then 2 weeks later, I'll be like, oh yeah, it's Bloodsport. It's that. And then it even has the last song on it, Killing Floor, which again kind of ties into the Hog Butchers bit because, you know, Chicago. It's this kind of like almost cold wave, like driving, like mid-tempo cold wave bit. It's almost instrumental, but it's got samples on it. So it's like sort of industrial sounding, but like early industrial, it's just like still super punk sounding. I fucking love this record. I really wish they would have stuck around and done some more. Because even when they did back up Kesney for the Effigies, that was an era when they didn't record anything. So it was kind of a loss. Like there's some live videos of them playing in that era as the Effigies, and they covered Babylon's Burning from the Ruts. So it's the perfect comparison for this. But yeah, this shouldn't be super hard. Like it's kind of hard to find around here. Like I never saw a copy in person until I ordered it off Discogs however many years back. Yeah, I love it. It's super underheard. Like that's the thing. Like anyone, I think if you hear it, you'll love it. It's just they don't have any sort of name recognition beyond like, oh yeah, Joe Haggerty played in Peg Boy Laughter, and Bjorklund was in.
Their name also sounds like a bad straight edge band or something. You know what I mean?
It sounds like a Youth Crew band name, but they predate that. Like this came out.
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a bad name. I just think that you know, it doesn't come off like the Effigies.
I always thought it was like a sort of a Homestead Records kind of college rock, indie rock kind of a band. That's what I thought based on the label and the name. That's what I.
Well, Raygun was some of the initial Raygun records before they signed with Caroline. That was Homestead, right?
Yeah.
They have a Chicago connection with them, but
yeah.
Are you guys familiar with this record?
That's
Volcano Suns.
Not that one. I have I had one of the other Volcano Suns ones.
So Bill, I haven't heard that Bloodsport, but this was one of my potential picks for tonight. This is also on Homestead in '85.
Oh, yeah.
And like your description of it sounds like it's like very close to what this sounds like. Like
nice.
1985 Homestead hardcore, like college rock, melodic parts. Like it's hard for me to say that because I haven't heard Bloodsport, but it's just a funny coincidence.
Yeah.
Good
the only one of theirs I heard was
Bloodsport is
the one with ice cream on the cover, where it was on SST a couple of years later. I think after Bob Weston had joined, but yeah,
right. And you mentioned the shellac connection with Bloodsport, and Bob Weston isn't on this record, but was on a later version of.
Yeah, he joined in on the band later on. Yeah, definitely got to check out that Volcano Suns. I like the one I'd had, but yeah, Bloodsport. I Am the Game.
Nice.
Should be pretty easy to find, I think, or at least I checked. There's a couple copies for sale on Discogs. You probably won't find it in a store around Chicago, at least, but yeah, it's great stuff. Like you just gotta kind of hear it. Like if you like the Ruts, if you like the Effigies, it's great.
Cool. All right, let's tread into the 90s, the grunge years. There you go.
Time to get depressed. It's the 90s.
Yeah, everyone do some heroin.
Let's get going. Get emo.
Actually, people might be a bit surprised by my 90s pick, but I bought this record recently.
Thank you, Paul.
He wants to give you a hug. Yes. I bought this record recently, and I've kind of always wanted to give a little bit of some props or shout out to like what I think is one of the sort of more important DIY punk labels from the UK from the 90s. Very prolific label, like super DIY, released a lot of great stuff. Sedition, One by One, Kitchener, Disaffect, Unhinged, Health Hazard, Drop Dead, Suffer, Doom, Ebola, Cress, Monuments, which is an absolutely phenomenal record. I think when Paco La Vida Mus came on, he said it was probably like a top 5, top 10 record of all time for him. Keto, Sedition, Pink Turd in Space. So many great records on this label. Real like super like ripping hardcore, in the 90s, and super DIY, cheap records, high quality. But on the other hand, people might think that this is a bit crust. I personally, which people, I'm not really associated with being a crust guy, but I don't really think this record is a crusty record, but maybe a lot of people would say it is a crust record. It's a band that's made up of members of Sedition, and I could have easily chose that Sedition LP. That first Sedition LP is just one of the most ferocious like hardcore records in the 90s out of Glasgow. Ex-Sedition, Disaffect, and the Stretchheads. The Stretchheads were kind of a different kind of, almost like a fall kind of indie band, but they're all from Scotland, all from Glasgow. I'm talking about, of course, this fucking ripper of a record on Flat Earth. Scather's first LP. Respect, Protect, Reconnect. Like Celtic theme throughout this record. Apparently, Scather was a mythical Celtic warrior queen who lived on the Isle of Skye, and that's how there's some like a lot of like Celtic imagery and stuff in Scather. A kilt-wearing band, from the north.
Did they wear a kilt?
Yes. Yeah. It's almost like a Celtic nationalist like record. I don't know. But man, this record is just like, okay, it's different from the Sedition record. It's just in that like mid-paced like groove, like pretty much like the whole way through. It's kind of metallic. It just sounds super pissed off and super angry and super passionate and real fucking DIY, like hardcore punk from the 90s, that kind of DIY spirit that you can't kind of replicate or, but man, yeah, it's like, I don't think I've ever owned this record before, but like, it just stays in this like mid-pace, like chugging, like metallic groove, and then sometimes gets a little bit slower. You know that song, cast your minds back to the song Agree to Differ by Doom, if you remember that song. It kind of it just goes in this like mid-paced, it's not a DB song, it just goes in this like mid-paced like groove all the way through. record is like that. Maybe like a little bit of the mid-paced stuff that Antisec did. But man, so powerful. And yeah, I want to give a shout out to like Flat Earth Records, and they were a very, very important label. This label kind of sums up like 90s DIY, like hardcore for me, being from the UK. Flat Earth Records, but yeah. Other respect, protect, reconnect.
I've seen that record for ages, and I've actually never heard it. And I've heard a lot of stuff on Flat Earth. So I'm curious about that because I've never actually I've seen it forever.
I mean, honestly, I think this is kind of like the new wave of like anarcho punk in a way, like the 90s anarcho punk. It's kind of like ramping up like what came before in the 80s. Like it's like ramping up into sort of hardcore territory, you know, what the Crass bands and all those bands.
Anarcho hardcore.
Yes. Exactly. Anarcho.
So Paul says the cover scared him a little bit. I think I got kind of like a Spit Boy vibe from the cover, and that's what kept me away.
Well, you know, it's the 90s. What are you gonna do? I mean, yeah, I can see why. Like, I mean, you know, the tribal tattoos, but it's all legit. These guys are 100% into. There's a whole booklet about like, you know, Celtic stuff, and you know, it's real legit.
Oh, do they sing in English or do they sing in Gaelic?
Yes, they do sing in English, but
wimps.
Yeah, missed opportunity there. No,
not lifers.
Yeah, I know, man. I'd say, you know me. I'm not a kind of crusty guy. I don't really think this is a crust record, but I think a lot of like crusties kind of love this record. But just powerful, like mid-paced, passionate, like hardcore from the 90s. Completely DIY.
What year did you say that was, Mike?
1996. Now, arguably, the Sedition record is like better than this, but this is my pick for the 90s, the Scather record.
Your description
of the greatest hit show.
I'm sorry, Scoot, go on.
No go anywhere.
Yeah. See, that's amazing. It does look like that Spartan Warrior record. I might try to grab it actually if I have time. It's down there. That's a good looking out, Rolo. Good looking out. Yeah, and Salmo loves Scather. There you go.
There we go.
The way you were talking about it makes me like instantly the first thing that came into my head, because I've never heard that, never heard of the band. But your description makes me think of that Darker Days Ahead record from Tragedy.
Oh, actually,
it makes me think of that and makes me really intrigued because I know a lot of people don't like that one, but I love that one.
It's not down tuned like that one, but I saw what you're saying. But it's like mid-paced,
kind of the same vibe to it.
Yeah, it's kind of That's a good comparison.
Yeah.
Fair comparison, I would say. Yeah. All right, Jordan.
All right.
Welcome to the 90s.
I'm in the 90s, and I'm firmly in the 90s, although this record came out between 1990 and 1991, so it's actually early 90s. I'm kind of going for this theme with most of mine that are, records that should be bigger than they are, I guess, or more well-known or something. I don't know. Anyway, this record, I think, falls in that. Their second record, this is the first record I'm going to show. Their second record actually kind of created a genre of music that I don't particularly like that much. I don't think they were never associated with that scene necessarily, except for some former members played in bands that had that kind of quality. But they kind of fell between this hardcore punk DIY ethic. But it also had metalcore, or the start of what was called metalcore, kind of came out of this band with this first, and then it kind of got even more solidified on their second record, which a lot of people usually turn to the second record more than the first record.
All right.
I think the first record is absolutely brilliant. I think it's just unrelentingly heavy. It's really dark. Matter of fact, the cover art is so incredibly dark that when I was in high school picking up this record, I was probably 16 or 17 when I bought this record. But when I actually picked it up, it was one of those records that was kind of shocking. And there was a period in the 90s, and especially in the early 90s, with the power violence scene where they were putting cover art that was like, a decapitated head or, a dead Vietnamese person. And it was a bit much, to be honest with you. And like, this cover has that where it's almost a bit much, but it's also like when you actually dive into the music, it matches it. It just matches it in almost a perfect package of a record. And yes, Paul, I'm talking about Rorschach.
There you go. Paul,
Yeah.
there you go.
Came from they're from New Jersey. And I know Charles Maggio has been on the show a few times early on. Was a singer of this band. They were affiliated with the ABC No Rio scene, which I also want to bring up a fact that era of ABC No Rio should also be highlighted as one of the huge turning points of like punk rock in the United States. When you think of like Born Against and Rorschach and Citizen's Arrest and the bands and the variety of different sounds those bands had. And, I'm not really that big into metalcore in any shape or form. And this band's second record, Protestant, is considered like the start of that. And I guess you can get into a drawing straws between them and Integrity or Earth Crisis or whatever bullshit band you want to talk about, that's putting that extra metal thing. What I hear with this record is a mix of Die Kreutzen and also Voivod. To be honest with you, it has like a very proggy quality to it, mixed in with this like hardcore, and then also it's metal. And there's no solo on this record. It just pummels you. 2-minute songs that are dark, that are just brutal. And, just looking at the cover, if you're not familiar with this band, you see this woman kind of setting something up. You don't really know what's going on. If you turn around the back cover, the woman has hung herself.
Yeah, it's
so it's heavy. But the record is heavy. It's not Zero Boys talking about amphetamine addiction or whatever. They're talking about the darkest parts of humanity. They have songs about genocide. There's a theme of being guilty that runs all throughout the different lyrical content of the record. Whether you're guilty of something, we're all guilty of something. And, it's just that it's like a theme in the record of just the absolute, evilness of humankind, basically, within a record. It's just great. And the music playing is absolutely phenomenal. The drumming and the percussion with the bass player, all the stop and start, almost, it's not math rock, but it's just so precise and like, and it has that kind of proggy feel, which I'm also not an expert on prog, but like it has that element within it that just makes it just absolutely just, I don't know, makes it something really special. I think compared to some of the other metalcore stuff. Their second record, like bands like Converge and Coalesce and Nails, I've talked about Protestant, their second record being a huge influence, but I think Remain Sedate is an absolutely one of the best 90s records, hardcore records. And interesting enough, like doing some research on it, just seeing all the different metal people that talked about how much they respect the record and the evolution of Rorschach for a band that wasn't popular at all when they were around. Matter of fact, their Autopsy CD makes a joke about the band, saying their first show they played in front of 25 people in a basement, and their last show they played in front of 30 people in a basement. Nothing they did as far as their music got them popular or any sort of like fame or anything. The other members went on to be in some other bands like, I'm drawing a blank, Dead Guy. Anyway, absolutely just perfect performed record.
I love that record, but every time I kind of go into the art section, I'm like, man, I'm not ready for this record tonight. It's been a hard day. It's like, I want to put me on some Screeching Weasel. It's a heavy, dark record. There's not, you know what I mean? It's like,
you have to be in a mood.
Depressed. It's like not. It's like,
and the record is only like 24 minutes or something. It's not a particularly long record, but it's putting the boot on your neck.
Yeah.
For the entire time, and that's what it's trying to do.
It succeeds. And more than that, beyond that. So nice. That's a real nice pick to kind of come up a little bit.
It kind of reminds me when you brought up Animosity. It kind of reminds me of the flow of that band going, kind of, having this kind of like crossover appeal, even though they're not,
right,
they're not in the metal scene.
I was thinking when you were talking about how different the concept of crossover and metalcore is, though, even though really it's almost like a mixture of the same two things, but we mean totally different things when we say those terms.
Yeah.
I think metalcore quickly became something else quickly, whereas crossover maybe stayed crossover, whereas I don't know, like metalcore became something quite bad quite quickly. Whereas
it had a lot of generations, I think, built on top of it, like very quickly. I think in the 90s with metalcore that I just didn't. It wasn't appealing to me. Rorschach is very appealing to me. Also, one other thing, like Charles Maggio, I guess, was dealing with cancer through the first and second record as well. So I mean, maybe that was a large part of that loss of humanity that's within the lyrics as well. But man, what a dark record. And it's not one of those like lyrical things where they talk about things to, just to be political, it's really the dark side of humanity.
Right. Beautiful. Do these two records look alike, I guess? Warrior. But it's the color scheme, right?
Color scheme, maybe a little bit of the font. But... Yeah, the Rorschach bit, that's a case where the discography CD kind of does it a disservice because it's just so much at once.
Right.
Where if you break it apart, it's much more agreeable. But the only thing I ever had from them was the CD, so it was much longer. So it was always much more difficult. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to put this on. I have to listen to all of it.
Right.
I think they're definitely one of those bands you want to listen to one of their records.
Yeah, they're absolutely.
And go for a walk.
Like a double disc, 2 CD.
Yeah, that's too
box set. All right, Scott, what's your 90s pick? Right. You said you were listening to this morning this morning.
I was listening to this after work tonight. Yes.
Tonight, sorry. Yeah, last night. Tonight.
Well, yeah, last night for you, it was a couple hours ago for me, but going in a different direction. Mainliner, Mellow Out.
Don't know that.
Psychedelic Japanese power trio.
Okay. Yeah,
Mike, you're not familiar with this? I thought you would have been like,
no, yes. Sorry. It's one of those moments where it's like, what? It's like,
I'm shocked.
Isn't it connected? Isn't it connected to High Rise? Isn't that
yes?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Psychedelic Speed Freaks.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were a trio. I mean, they may still be around for all I know. This band has put out an insane amount of releases. This is their first LP. Came out. It was CD only in '96. That's the original release. The vinyl release, the first vinyl release, I believe, was 2003.
Okay.
So this is super, super blown out, wild ass, jamming psychedelic rock, like in the vein of Les Rallies, Des Nudes. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that right because as far as I know, that's a made up word.
Yeah, I think it is.
High Rise, like Mike mentioned. If you've heard a newer American band, Purling Hiss, it's a similar kind of just outrageous shredding psychedelic guitar. So this is 3 tracks. The first song is under 2 minutes. The last 2 songs are like 13 and 18 minutes. Very jammy, but like so blown out, saturated in fuzz and reverb. Some vocals, but it's like almost the vocals are almost like an instrument.
Yeah.
You're not gonna. I don't know. Maybe if you speak Japanese, it makes more sense. But to me, it just sounds like
it's like High Rise.
It sounds like another instrument. Like they're so affected and whatever. But it's like, man, they get into these grooves, and it's like you're like, God damn, this is heavy. And then all of a sudden, that guitar just opens up, and it's like the Ghostbusters just fucking powered up their proton packs in that hotel ballroom and just blasted the shit out of everything indiscriminately. Meanwhile, the rhythm section is like a bulldozer just destroying the building that it's in. It is so fucking heavy again, this is like a kind of like a clear your room if you got people you don't want over. Like I had to literally turn this down when I put it on. Like my record player is always got like the same kind of volume level. This record is like either cut so loud or it's just so powerful. I had to turn it down because I'm like, this is like blasting me right out of the room. And I love this record. Like I've owned this for like probably 20 years and I've listened to it a billion times. Mike, I thought for sure this was going to be a slam dunk for you, at least that you were going to be able to fill in some of the background info. Because frankly, I don't know.
Not knowing who the effigies are.
Yeah. It doesn't sound like the effigies, I'll tell you that.
I know. I'm just saying, like being a Japanese man living in Japan, I didn't know who made
Shizuka. Are you familiar with Shizuka or some of those other Japanese kind of psychedelic noise adjacent bands?
White Heaven.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not super familiar either. And again, like these guys have like something like a couple dozen releases. Like I've heard a few of them over the years. They're all the ones I've heard are similar. This is the only one I literally own on vinyl.
All right.
And it may be the kind of thing where it's like, you may not need to own all of them unless you're like, if I was like a guitar player, maybe I'd want to really study every single solo or whatever. But this kind of just scratches the itch when I want to hear that, or like an LRD record. But again, it's very similar to that, like just like kind of a very repetitive. The rhythm section gets locked in a groove, and no shade to them or no. I don't want to diminish their contributions because they're really in this, and it's like the rhythm section hits hard, but man, that guitar, that guy opens up and he just goes ballistic, and it just blows your head right through the room. It's powerful stuff. I mean, you guys should check it out if you're not familiar.
I don't know.
Checked out. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
I feel the name, but I honestly, it might be something else too.
Yeah, and I mean, this is on. You can check this out on YouTube. You cannot get the full effect of this listening on computer speakers. Like this is made to be played loud and like fill a room with sound and vibrations.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean,
Mellow
I
Out.
love the name Mellow Out. This is the least mellow record I own. It's insane. Yeah.
That sounds like a Pepper Keenan era COC right there. Mellow Out.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I have to imagine that's just an ironic title.
Japanese joke.
Yeah. Makoto Kawabata Motor Psycho guitar. That sums it up pretty well, I think.
All right.
Yeah, Mellow Out.
Yeah, definitely want to check that out.
Let's mellow out. Bill.
That's right. It's my turn.
It's yes.
My turn for the 90s. All right. So in a couple weeks, my wife and I are taking our honeymoon over to England. So we're going to split our time between London and Manchester. So anyone that's watching from London or Manchester, if you know any cool gigs or stores between April 23rd and March 5th, let me know. So when we're in Manchester, one of the things I want to do immediately is go to a suburb and go to a chip shop, because there's a giant mural of a certain guy on the side of it. And most associated with the 70s and 80s. But this one, it's from the 90s. 27 points from The Fall.
Okay.
I fucking love The Fall. I'm one of these idiots that will get everything. This is not, if you've never heard The Fall, don't buy this first. If you have 5 Fall albums, don't buy this 6th. This is one of those ones that is, as they say, for the real heads, if you will. It's a mostly live album recorded between 1991 and 1995. It's a double album, so it's gatefold. This reissue is from 2021. Originally came out as a double CD in 1995, recorded between 91 and 95. It's a kind of fucked up mix of great sounding live tracks. There's a couple they almost sound like field recordings, just like Mark reciting lyrics as an intro track. So like their intro music it'll be a recording of that. There's one song that's like a dictaphone recording of Marky Smith just telling a joke to his friend backstage. Yeah, and then there's also a couple of studio outtakes of it, but they're studio outtakes from the 90s albums. So this, it almost acts as like a kind of fucked up best of 1991 and 1995. So like mostly songs from Extricate to Cerebral Caustic. The only acknowledgement of anything before 1990, there's 2 songs. They play Big New Prince, which is in my top 5 favorite fall songs. It's one of those just like absolute stompers. They play Mr. Pharmacist. Those are the only 2 songs from before 1990. Everything else is 90 to 95. So this has got the lineup where some of the songs have Brix Smith on guitar because she was back in like 94 to 96. The rest is mostly, there's some that have the double drummer with, what's his name? Simon Wollstonecraft and Paul Hanley. Was that the drummer's name? But it's mostly the like kind of classic, like 80s lineup that lasted up until about 97 when they had that kind of onstage fight in New York and like everyone left but Mark's then girlfriend. But so this one, it's 28 songs, double LP. It's sometimes a slog to get through, but the best part of it, so like a lot of the kind of early 90s fall stuff, and I fucking love the fall. Some of those early 90s records and those late 90s records have a lot of kind of programmed drum beats that are a little tough to take, but played as a real live band, they sound fucking great. Like there's a couple of 90s killer ones. So it's got like high tension wire, it's got free range. It's tough. It is. It really is. Like I know some folks that are not into this one, and I've seen some reviews saying this is terrible, but I love it.
I like that you like it.
Yeah, I like the fall. I own 4 fall records, and I like them just fine. Like the Witch Trials and Supernaut. Like I have like 4 records, and I feel like
Supernaut,
that's like
a sleep.
What's that?
Supernaut? That's a sleep.
I don't remember what it's called. I was
Dragnet.
But the fall is a band I like again, like Jordan said, like I own Live at the Witch Trials, Hex Induction Hour.
They have that one too.
This Nation's Saving Grace. But it's like, it's a band when I listen to it, it makes me feel stupid because I'm like, I like this, but it's like, I feel like I'm not smart enough to really enjoy it the way I'm supposed to be enjoying it. So it makes me feel like uneducated or something. So I'm just like,
I can see that.
I don't know. It's kind of a
there's parts of it where like there's parts of that where there's the super just like intellectual side because Mark just was an intellectual writer. But then like this album also, so there's a take of Idiot Joy Showland on this, which is another one of those kind of early 90s single hits. There's 2 takes of it because there's this just kind of ripping version of it. And then Mark just walks off stage and then someone just kind of mutters into the microphone, "We'll be back in 2 minutes." And then the song never starts up again. So they go into another song. And then 3 songs later, it's a different version of Idiot Joy Showland that is even better. It just like, it's like a trolling album, but it sounds great. Like, because it was an official release. It was put out obviously with their involvement, and it rules. Like it's not for the casual fan, because it is mostly made up of stuff from 1990 and 1995, and that's my second least favorite era of the fall. The only one I like less is the late 90s when they got more, because like it's the studio tracks are like that, you could tell that the Manchester shit was happening, and I don't like that stuff, like all, which again probably isn't boding too well for going to see the city soon, but like the Stone Roses and all that shit, not into that. But
you're not into the Stone Roses?
Holy shit, this was the first one you had? Oh my god.
Boom! Amazing.
Did you follow up after that? Did it take like 5-10 years?
Wow.
I mean, one of the ones, I think the second one I had, my local library had a copy of Levitate from 1997. And that was also a very bad one to hear second. Like I had the 50,000 Fall Fans like best of, and then I went to the library and saw that. I'm like, oh, let me get this out, and it just, I appreciate it now. And if you get past some of the program drum beats, it's great. But yeah, it's an slightly controversial period of the band, but if you're someone who really loves the Fall, you can find a lot to like in this. There's a couple studio outtakes from those albums that are of that era, and they're not great, to say the least. They kind of break up the flow of the live tracks. But again, it's just a fucking weird sound collage almost. Like you'll have these amazing live tracks, then you'll have Mark telling a joke backstage, then you'll have another one, but that song will cut out after 35 seconds. And then you'll have a studio track that kind of sucks. But then you'll be knocked into this amazing version of Big New Prince or High Tension Line. Like it's the push and pull. It's so fucking good. Oh, thank you, Paul. Yeah, it's definitely.
You've been offering one, but I want to take mine back.
No, okay. The record I have is Dragnet.
Dragnet, yeah. That's the.
Sorry, I got it mixed up with Sleep.
Close.
I mean, they're basically
the
same band. They're the same.
Anyway, we've still got to get through the 2000s to 2025.
I mean, I could keep talking
I
about
got to
the
give
Fall.
you credit for your Fall pick wasn't a
What else?
70s or an 80s pick, but a 90s pick.
I almost went with the Marshall Suite because that's the only, or what's the other one? Light User Syndrome, just to troll everyone. But no, this is the real shit. This is the good stuff.
I feel like I've been trolled by this review.
It's it's great. So everyone send me your gigs for Manchester and London and
Yes,
early May.
Yes, let's do that.
I'm excited.
Yes, have a good time. Have some fish and chips.
Go into the chippy, if you will.
Yes, get in a fight at a pub. All right,
I'll make Mark's
the last round. Yes, this is gonna be a good round. I started off with Blues Obituary, and also mentioned the Apostles' Punk Obituary. Is it time for a D-beat obituary?
Sure.
I mean, let's not get too spicy, but personally, I don't really need to hear like another like modern like D-beat record. Okay, to me,
unless it's French.
Exactly. Oh, you ruined my build-up. But yeah, so for me, like traditional D-beat sort of peaked with Meanwhile, and there's not really been anything better than that since then. But people love it. You know, this is just my hot take. But you know, I guess people do not want it messed with. People don't really want the formula to be messed with. They either want it to sound like Y, or they want it to sound like Hear Nothing, See Nothing, Say Nothing. It's either they want it to be super blown out, like maybe Yellow Cake are. I haven't listened to Yellow Cake, but people are saying like the Yellow Cake singles are like super blown out D-beat. I've got to check those out. I might not be my thing. And then like the new Ultimate Disaster record, people are psyched about that. I listened to a little bit of it. Like, you know, it's been done before. Maybe they've done something a bit different with it. To me, you got to look to France to sort of do something new with D-beat. And this group of people, not only in this band and then another band that they're in, sort of managed to sort of elevate the genre so much that I even hesitate to call it a D-beat record because it's just kind of beyond a D-beat to me. Of course, I'm talking about fucking the new Bombardment record. I mean, what makes this different to sort of meat and potatoes D-beat? Well, first of all, look at it. You know, it doesn't look like a fucking D-beat record.
Yeah.
The title
looks more like a Harmonia cover album.
It's you know, they're creative. You know, it's like I like the fact they always like use white, like black and white and yellow, like that's their thing. Just that's continuously, and it just like works really well. But I don't know. Okay,
I like Bombardment. I think they're really cool. What they're doing.
What makes this band stand out to me is there's a couple of things really. It's I mean, this band is almost doing sort of the Price of Silence like Warning era, but with a sort of a bigger attack. You know, to the sound. The guitars sound like fucking razor blades. They almost sound actually very compressed. And I don't know if they are, but they're just like, oh man, it's just like, they're not like huge, like blown out guitars. So this is a D-beat record that you would not use any sort of like adjectives like brutal and, you know, carpet bombing and all that kind of stuff. Because it ain't that. It's you know, it's like, it's kind of delicate. It's classy, you know. It's like, starts off with a little piano introduction. Then the twin guitar leads come in, which people are saying, oh, it's too metallic. It's metallic in the way that sort of Deathside or Paintbox or whatever metallic, you know, these sort of anthemic leads that were obviously taken from like Iron Maiden or Judas Priest or whatever. But, you know, vocals are in a sort of, you know, Dawn Crosby, Detente, Tams kind of sacrilege vein. There's just like little bits and pieces in here that just sort of elevate it above like a typical D-beat record. And this band shines the best when they do like the mid-pace songs. They are masters of the art of the sort of mid-paced Price of Silence, Born to Die in the Gutter kind of era, like Discharge style. I think they're amazing at it. I mean, I think this is just such an engaging record. I know. Give me more of this. Give me more of this. Less of sort of the disclose worship or whatever. And come on, it's 2025. Yeah. Let's do something different.
It's more inventive, you know.
It's inventive, but maybe a lot of people do not. That's what they don't want, inventive in DB, which I completely understand. I get it completely. But
I think I said it on one of the earlier episodes. I either said it or it was in a chat. But I said basically, like, how many new D-beat records do people need? And the overwhelming answer was a lot. Like, right. No one has enough D-beat records. They're like, give me fucking more D-beat records. Like,
yeah, and I get it.
I basically feel the way you do, but
I absolutely get it. It's just like my personal take on it. But yeah, I mean, props to
so Mike. You alluded to their other band.
Oh, what's the Faucheurs from last year? Which is
one
even
do you
more
like better?
Experimental than this. And the singer of Faucheurs used to be in Bombardment on the early records, but she sings on the last song of this record. Like the new singer and the old singer kind of sing together on the last song on this record. But
I actually prefer them slightly.
Oh, Faucheurs?
I'm the opposite.
It's hard to
bet. Most people seem to prefer this.
Yeah, but for some people, a lot of people, Faucheurs is like a one step beyond two-tone. It's like too experimental, even though it isn't that. There's a saxophone and and like
it's keyboards.
The vocal style is very different. But yeah, record of the year so far for me. I mean, it's only April, but check it out. Bombardment. Dans la fournaise, which means in the furnace. And apparently there's like a story to this record. It's a kind of like, not a concept record, but apparently there's a story that flows from start to finish. So I got to look at the lyric sheet and maybe translate some of it and check out what the story's sort of about. But that's my
I picked up the files from that on Bandcamp, but yeah, I didn't clock that because I don't speak enough French, but please get back to us with that.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what the story of a non-concept.
Maybe I'll just ask Luke; he'll tell me. But
outsource it.
Easiest way. That's my pick for the 2025.
Awesome. All right,
Jordan.
Yeah. All right.
I know you have some new records, but you've elected not to.
I have new records, but I decided to go with an older record. I decided to go with a record from 2003. And then got reissued on an American label in 2005. I've actually talked about this scene, another scene that I think, though I think it was appreciated at the time, maybe people aren't talking about it as much now, but this K-Town scene in Denmark. And I talked to, I think there's been quite a few people that have shown records from it. So it's not like it's not within this community of people, but I think in general in punk rock, it's getting to that point where it's 20 years away and people don't remember Gorilla and Grab and all the great Amity Peterson's Army and all the great bands that came there, and how when they came to the U.S. and toured, how awesome it was to see those bands play somewhat American style punk rock and hardcore, and kind of almost like, you know, show us how it's done a little bit in a way. This one band is a punk band from Denmark that has a lot of the same members of the Young Wasterners and Amity Peterson's Army, and it just hasn't been talked about. And I think it's the best record of that era, or the record that I enjoy the most of that era. And that says a lot because I also really love like Gorilla on Grab and Amity Peterson's Army. But I'm talking about No Hope for the Kids.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's a melodic, dark punk band. And I've always loved this record. I never saw the band. They only toured the East Coast and the West Coast when they came to the United States. They played a radio show in Portland, and they recorded that, and there's a bootleg of that, which is absolutely great. They put out 2 EPs, which are also really great. So they have a catalog of only basically 2 EPs and this LP, which is dark, driving, melodic punk. You know, it's similar to The War Goes On, which is a band that came many years after this that's still active. It basically sounds very similar to that, where it just had this really kind of dark, melodic, kind of a little bit of a California, like, you know, LA kind of sound, but they're kind of doing it in their own way. And a lot of the songs have to do with Cold War issues. And they have a song called Eyes of War, War Wreck, Century of Warfare. So they have, you know, on the back cover has like airplanes on it and stuff. This is the Kick and Punch release that came out in 2013, which is also a gatefold. But being the nerd that I am, I also have the Feral Ward.
That's the one I have. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, the Feral Ward one, which is also great, except for I guess I never noticed that the guys are reversed on the cover.
Yeah, right.
I guess I never figured that out, even though I've owned these for a long time. Even on the back cover, they're reversed, which is, I'm like,
wow, consistency,
yeah.
Attention to detail.
Yeah. There we go. I mean, the cover isn't great. I mean, I don't know, whatever. But
the red stick out more. The red version looks a lot better.
Yeah, I think so too. And you know, but just it's really great, dark, driving, melodic punk. And it's always resonates. It's one of those records I've always played, and it's always resonated with me. And I feel like it's one of those bands that just, you know, at the time they were a really popular band. But it's not. It just hasn't reverberated to for future generations of punk that at least I've seen. And I, you know, when you hear bands like Red Dawns or that kind of play the similar style, you know, like that are popular, you can also look back at, you know, bands like The Observers and No Hope, and I think it's just really, really great punk.
Jordan, you briefly mentioned War Goes On. Man, I think that first like War Goes On record is like one of the best records of the past. Like 10 years, maybe it's like 10 years.
I love that stuff too. And I kind of came on to War Goes On kind of late. I kind of was. Me too.
And they have a new record out too, but it's like you can't get it. It hasn't made it here. I
haven't seen any distros here either. And it's on a label that usually you get stuff over here. It's like Adult Crash, I think, that did it.
Yeah, yes.
So usually you'll see those pop up in distros and like in Sorry State. I haven't seen it either. Which is I get everything why War Goes On. That sound is very similar. That band is obviously were very influenced by No Hope for the Kids.
Yeah.
I don't think they share a member, but I you know.
Yeah, what you're saying about people not kind of following up on it, like I think it was 2017 maybe. Tribes played with 2 bands from Copenhagen that had ex-members of No Hope for the Kids and Amity Peterson's Army, and there were not that many people there. Like it was a Liars Club show on like a Wednesday night, I want to say.
What band was it?
Pretty late. The bands were 0% and Monoliths. We've not that many people showed up. Like we tried to get the word out, like, hey, you know, these No Hope for the Kids records that you really like, come to this show. It's like half that band. And yeah, not that many people showed up. It was a cool show. Like they were super nice guys, and the newer bands were both great. But yeah, it was that was not a selling point, I guess.
Yeah, I just love that whole era. I mean, all those bands are great, and they're all very different in their sound, even though they sound a bit American, but they also make it their own. And it was a really, I think, a kind of a magical scene for about 5-6 years where all these really great bands were coming from them.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of people complaining at that time that they were just aping like American styles, like
The
that
only
whole
band
scene
that-
at the time. But
The only
I didn't
band from
feel
that
that
era,
way, but
I didn't feel that way either. There was only one band that was really popular, not from, I think they're Swedish, but Regulations was, I mean, you could literally hear like circle jerk riffs. And I remember feeling that, even though I really liked that band, I still was just like, I can hear so much American in it. Whereas I feel like those Denmark bands, they put a different kind of twist on it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Nice. Beautiful. All right.
that's a good pick. I actually had the Gorilla on Grab first 12 inches. That was one of my kind of finalists for this round that I didn't end up going with, but that was a great tour that they did here, and that I love that record too.
Yeah, great record.
But
Great
actually,
record.
Mike gave me kind of a great segue with his pick on this. It seems like French punk French punk content.
That's a deep
Right. Any stale baguette fans here?
It's a deep dive.
French, particularly female-fronted French punk bands have been very popular in these environs lately, with obviously Alvilda, Corps Index, Bombardment, Fauchus.
All of the French oi.
All that oi.
Grand.
But particularly the female-fronted. So this isn't punk, but it is female-fronted, and it is in French.
Nice pick, mate. Nice pick. There you go. Cauchemar.
You got Mike excited.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I
don't know anything about this, but Mike loves it.
I'm glad Mike gave me the initial pronunciation because I was scared of this one.
Shot in the dark, mate. Shot in the dark.
Not a French band. They're Canadian from Quebec, but all the lyrics are in French.
Yes.
So this is kind of a retro style occult rock, doom metal. Nuclear War Now. You can probably see this is a fucking killer package with the die cut cover.
You know what? When I got my copy, I pulled out of the envelope and I totally ripped out. I just tore off the cover by accident.
Yeah, die cut cover with the foil stamp logo, and it's got a nice poster. It's a killer package.
I destroyed mine.
Great art design. I think Onik, the singer, she's noted as like a designer for a lot of other bands. She probably did this, but this I've had this like since this came out. I think 2013. I don't know how the rest of you guys felt at the time. I think Mike, you were probably a fan of a lot of that sort of retro occult rock that
Blood
was coming
Ceremony,
Witchcraft,
Graveyard,
Person, The Oath,
Circle.
Yeah, there was. It seemed like it was endless for a hot minute. It was like always like a really great looking female singer, a lot of atmosphere, a lot of like vintage equipment and kind of cobble together Sabbath riffs, and some of them did it really well. Like I do. I'm kind of taking the piss a little bit here, but like I own a lot of those records, and I really love a lot of those records. The first Oath record, I love it. I listen to it all the time. Jack's Top, Jess and the Ancient Ones, like
Jack's
a lot of good records came out.
Jack's stuff is really good, I want to say.
Oh, it's really good.
Yeah.
This doesn't sound like any of those records. So like that whole scene to me is very kind of samey sounding and very kind of cohesive as like a unit. And I think for the most part, a lot of those records were a little earlier than this, and that may kind of account for some of it. But I think the vocals are really what elevate this out of the kind of mainstream of that pack. You know what? Like I've talked in past episodes about like I really love Spanish language punk and hardcore because the language just sounds like it's made for hardcore. Like it's like that like choppy, short, like in the same way for like an atmospheric kind of a cult drenched doom metal record, like the French language just sounds so perfectly matched.
Yeah. I think musically, French like it's music.
I'm sorry.
I think French just sounds good with music. Like it just seems like the language in itself.
Yeah.
Same with Spanish. Or
yeah. I mean, again, it's just the way like the lyrics kind of just are layered over the music in this. Where musically, this isn't. No one's like trying to hit like a slam dunk on this. Like it's sort of like very meat and potatoes metal. Like it's very rhythm heavy, not like a lot of like flashy guitar leads. Like the soloing is like very kind of under the radar. Like, and the vocals kind of shine because of that. Like they're kind of at the forefront. But like I said, it's like an atmospheric record. Like there's like some like kind of whooshing wind sounds in the air and like chiming bells.
Like
and
it doesn't sound like Christian Mistress, but I think they understand that sound similarly to Christian Mistress.
I was actually going to mention them as like kind of a possible entry point where, again, they don't necessarily sound like them, but you're kind of plumbing the same kind of depths. I think if you're into them, you'll probably like them, but certainly like if you're into like Lucifer or Angel Witch, even Witchcraft, which obviously they don't have a female singer, but it's that sort of old fashioned or vintage sound. Like I love Witchcraft, but Witchcraft to me almost sounds like they're doing like an impression of like a band from the 70s, where Kashmar seems like they're doing their own thing. And it seems fresh, but like a reinvention of something, or a reinterpretation. Not like we're not doing cosplay. We're not doing, we're not trying to sound like a cover band.
Genuine, yeah.
But man, what a killer record. Like
it's great. It's good. It's great record.
Like mid-paced or kind of downbeat for the most part. Like not super like where you're like in the weeds the whole time. A very cohesive record, but enough variation in the songwriting that it doesn't sound like you're just listening to the same thing for like 20 minutes long. And they've had like a few other records since then. This is their second LP. It's all good. Again, I think we kind of all are guilty of this to some degree, where it's like a record that you hear the first time that ends up kind of being like your favorite out of their discography. This is the one for me. And because this is the one I own, like, again, to hear it, like, I don't care. Like I listen to music all day on like my computer, just basically to fill the silence, but it doesn't compare at all to hearing it like on a real stereo, like the way it was meant to sound, just like, again, filling the room, filling that space. Like, oh God, this is a great record.
It is.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it at that.
Kashmar.
Yeah. Kashmar.
2023. 2013. Sorry.
Great record.
Yeah. And I was hoping to have like an actual new release. Like I had 2025 releases en route. But
25?
2025 releases, yes. Yeah. The Postal Service did me dirty, unfortunately, so I had to go to the way back. But this is like a record like I've wanted to talk about for a while, but like we all say this all the time when we're in the background talking about these episodes, where it's like you've got these certain records or certain bands that you're like, like I've just never had the opportunity, but I want to. And it's like, God, this record is so good. Like more people should know about it. It's like whether I think I can sound. There are a lot of things where I want to talk about it, but like I know I just don't have the vocabulary or the background or whatever to even make my own meager vocabulary skills up to the task. But it's like you want people to hear this music, and like you want them to share it with you, So it's like, check it out.
It's all about the passion, the love. We're passionate fans. We're not, professional music critics. So.
Not critics. Passionate fans.
There you go. Passionate fans. Bill Molloy, passionate fan. What's your last
final pick? Actually, I remembered one thing I want to say about the fall record that I forgot.
What?
I know. There's a cover of Strychnine on that record as well. So that ties into
there's a segue.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, I forgot about that while we were talking about it.
The best fact of the whole thing.
Let's bring it on home with the last pick of the day.
So for the post 2000 bit. So about a month ago, War Effort, my band, went to Cleveland to play the Rust Belt Ripper Fest. We were there for the weekend, and it was a lot of fun. The band that played immediately after us, I made sure, because I was looking at the schedule, like, oh shit, I want to see these guys. So I made sure we played downstairs. They were playing upstairs. Made sure to get upstairs and get a good spot for it. It's a brand new 7-inch. It wasn't out yet technically when they were playing. It came out, I think, 3 weeks ago. It's the new record from The Hell.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, it's the new 7-inch from The Hell. It's another self-titled 7-inch. So the A-side has 4 songs that are pretty much part and parcel of the LP. It's super snotty, fast. Like, guys' vocals are just approaching that line where they're too snotty and too annoying, but he keeps it just on the right side.
Right.
And so it's 4 songs that are just about 5 minutes long, maybe. They kind of run through super fast. Like, you almost need to flip over the record to hear it and like kind of absorb that they are 4 different songs. But the B-side to it is the song called Dirt Nap. And also the artwork on it, like front cover is the broken glass, but then back is this real cool guy with the hammer with the song titles in there. So it's pretty cool artwork in there. But the B-side Dirt Nap is this 5.5-minute dirge that sounds to my ears like a Lost Saccharine Trust song. It's got that kind of chimey guitar to it. It's super slow. And even when it does kind of pick up into more kind of power chord type stuff, it really does sound like it could have been the closing song on like Pagan Icons, which I was not expecting at all based on the LP or the first half of this record. They didn't play it live. Or maybe they did. I don't think they did. I don't think they played Dirt Nap live because that would have taken up most of the set. They were very good. But yeah, I was real excited. They even said like, yeah, we got the new records a couple weeks early. Like, we only have a couple of them. I moseyed over to the merch table, like middle of their set, to make sure to buy the record. So I'm like, fuck, I want this like right now. I was real excited to see them, and I was real happy that it worked out, that they played the day that we played. And immediately after. So I just ran upstairs, and yeah, it's pretty great stuff. If you really like the LP.
I love the LP. I think the LP.
That first half is going to get you. It's the really good continuation of that. And the second half or the B-side, it's also really great, but it's a totally different feeling and a totally different sound to it. Like, the B-side definitely makes the record. It completely sticks out. So yeah, is
that
really
Sorry State, Drunken Sailor?
Yeah, Sorry State. Yeah, Sorry State and Drunken Sailor co-released.
Collaboration. Release, right?
I've had that in my cart waiting to get paid to buy a copy.
Yeah,
I love the LP. I think it's great. I think they're one of the 5 US hardcore bands I really like right now. Well, maybe more.
Yeah, I was real excited when I saw, because like, the lineup with the fest.
But it's one of the better ones going on right now.
I was very excited they were playing the same day. It's like, all right, cool. I'm definitely going to make sure. And then I saw they were playing immediately after us, and I'm like, oh fuck, maybe. And like, but no, there was more than enough time.
We got to get them to come play Chicago.
Hopefully they do. They were great. So hopefully with that. But yeah, that's my 2025 pick.
There we have it.
It's been out for 2-3 weeks. It's great. And also Rust Belt Ripper Fest was great. Met friend of the show and guests Matt and Dennis at that gig. Hell Deer played that same weekend, or they played the night before. So met them that night. So
great dudes.
A lot of former guests played that fest.
Why didn't you take a big picture, everyone together?
I took the one for you, Mike.
Yeah, just kidding. Hey, we had a good time, right? This was kind of a fun theme. We might do a different kind of theme. What do you think? Everyone watching, what do you reckon? We should do more themed things. Go back to the go back to basics. But
bottom 5 fall records
next week. But maybe in the future we'll think about some other like themed episodes. Let me announce next week's show: Canadian Invasion. Yeah, Chris Colohan. He was a great guest last time he came on. Chris from all those bands, the Swarm, Left 4 Dead. Am I right?
Left 4 Dead, yeah.
Yep, Left. Yep. Dave Stevenson, the owner and the owner of Emissions Records in Toronto, and lovely lad Mike Woodford, veteran guest, is back on the show. Always a good time with Mike. He's a funny dude. So tune in next week, Friday, April 11th, 10 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be a great time. It's always a great time. Has it never been a good time? It's always a great time. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. Until next time. Until next week. What are you going to do? Cheers. What are you going to do with your life? You're going to stay healthy and
stay
clean.
Bill, say it.
Reasonably